Hey, what is up, my fellow cinephiles? I am Jay Feezy, and welcome to That One Movie. So, this is my channel, Feezy's Media. This is an offshoot from FeezysFigures. Some of you may be familiar with that. If you're not, that's just a channel where I talk about, action figures, collectibles, things of that nature, that sort. But that's not my only hobby. I also enjoy movies, music, video games, TV shows. So I figured I'd create another channel to discuss that. It's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none type thing. But as most of you know, fellow collectors, we have more than one hobby, and our hobby of collecting stems from somewhere else. Usually, right? Usually, it stems from something our love of film, movies, nostalgia, things like that. So I'm no different. But yeah, so this particular name that movie. This ain't a game show. That one movie is a series of streams and or videos. May sometimes I'll do pre-recorded, sometimes I won't, where me and maybe some guests will talk about a particular movie, and we'll just have a discussion. We'll go over some things or thoughts on it. It could be new, it could be older, so it's all over the place. Either way, it's about film. It's what we enjoy. Just yeah, different aspects of it. So with that, for this episode 2, we're going to discuss that one movie where that girl gets possessed and vomits pea soup. And to join me in this discussion, we have Alex Montano
Hello, my
and
friend.
Gio, aka the Movie Canon.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Yay, that's right. I sprinkled them in here. What is up, Alex? How you doing?
Good, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you for joining me. How was your holiday? How were your holidays?
Pretty good. Pretty chill. Watching
Yeah,
movies with my wife. Yeah, had a
fitting.
good time. Yeah, it was pretty fun. Not holiday movies because no fun. No
You don't do
fun.
that.
No,
You don't do
no. I,
holiday
I
stuff.
I like to go against the current, so I made
Oh,
her watch some Hong Kong love stories. So
oh, nice. Kind of went against the grain there. Is
yeah.
that would you say that's a holiday tradition then? Not watching
Not
specific.
really, but I want to make it a holiday tradition for her. So
Yeah,
and start making her watch because it's always the same. Like you watch Home Alone, you watch these movies,
yeah.
and I told her, you know what, I'm gonna make you watch Wonka or Why movies, and we'll see how it goes from there. And she liked them. She liked them.
Nice. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thanks for joining me. Appreciate you. I'm looking forward to getting to a discussion with you as a fellow horror fan and a
Yes.
collector, of course. If you can't see here that there in his background, he's also a collector. But another fellow horror fan, movie buff, and collector, we have Geo, the Movie Canon. First time on any of my streams. Welcome,
Yep,
sir. How
yep,
you
yep,
doing?
yep. Thank you so much for inviting me, Feezy. Thanks very much. Yeah, I'm a big horror fan, big movie buff, six-go collector as of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, The Exorcist, one of the greatest films of all time, my favorite horror film of all time. And then I'm very excited for this stream today. So thanks so much again for inviting me.
Yeah, man. Thank you for accepting and coming on. Yeah, I've been watching some of your streams, and you've been doing a good job over there talking about both similar content, right? You just
Yeah,
you consolidate your streams for both collectibles and movies, so that's convenient for
yeah.
those who like both. Yeah, definitely easier, right, to do it that way.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
easier that way.
unlike all the work I'm doing over here, creating two channels and having two accounts of everything.
Yeah, well, you're focusing on one thing, so I was thinking about that. Maybe I should do that, but it's like then I have to create like a whole new channel. It's like a whole thing, but
Yep,
you already have it
exactly.
set it up and good to go. So
Do
Yep,
what makes you
nice.
happy.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
What's easier?
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the biggest thing is what's easier. And for me, yeah, this
Yeah.
is definitely easier. Um, but yeah, so without further ado, gentlemen, let's go ahead and jump into it. I think we have quite a bit to discuss, but I'll try to be efficient and keep it, kind of compact. I know it's late for you guys, well, for Alex, but so I don't want to
Don't
take up
worry
too
about
much
it.
of your time here.
Don't
So
worry
with
about it.
that, let me go ahead and bring this up. Let me enhance here and dehance. Let's see here. And there we go. All right. So, The Exorcist. I'm sure you all watching or who all will watch on the replay have heard about this movie. If not, and you're a horror fan, you're in for a treat. Real quick, sorry, I forgot to say, I will have timestamps to the stream and things we're talking about. We're going to be doing a non spoiler discussion first, and then a spoiler discussion in the last part of this stream. I did that in the previous episode, and I figured I'd be consistent, and it just, in case for those very few minority who haven't seen this yet, I still don't want to ruin that. There's some good things that happen in here, interesting things, and so I always want to be respectful to those, even though, yes, this is 50 years old now, but
Yeah.
just in case. So yeah, I'll have the timestamps in there. Links to these fine gentlemen's content will be in there below. Alex, I'll put yours in after the show, after the stream, just because I wasn't sure if you were going to be able to join or not. So, but Gio's is in there, and I'll definitely have both yours in there as well. So be sure to check their content out. Show them some love, if you like what you see. All right. So as I mentioned, this movie was, I figured, it'd be fitting for me to do this movie today because it opened exactly December 26th in 1973. So today is the Exorcist's birthday. Yay, happy birthday, Exorcist. You did it, 50 years old.
Such an odd
AARP is
date.
around the corner.
Such an
Yeah, I
odd
know,
date
right?
for a movie release like this, the day after Christmas. It's like,
Yeah,
you guys can enjoy your Christmas, your Jesus on the 25th, but the devil is coming on the 26th.
I'm sure they wanted to release it on Christmas at the Vatican or so. I was like, you know what? You can't
No.
do it. Like,
Yeah.
Especially that.
No.
yeah.
I wonder if it that actually fell. I would have to go back and look at the calendar, but I'm pretty sure it probably fell on a Friday, right?
I don't even know actually.
Yeah, I
'Cause
don't know.
when it comes to the holiday dates like Christmas, it usually doesn't
Yeah.
really matter what day it lands on. So I'm not totally sure, but
Yeah. Yep. And also, I forgot to say, let us know in the chat. For those of you watching, thank you again for joining us. But if our audio's off or anything's going on, just please let me know, and I'll try to get that corrected. So yeah, I think we're good now. But stuff happens along the way, so we all know Zoom
Yeah.
calls. Be that one person. You're on mute, so just let us know if our audio's low. Okay, so. Yes, December 26, 1973. And yeah, you're right, Gio. I didn't realize that until I started doing some, when I kind of first glanced at it. I knew it was 1973, and I went back and I saw the date, and I was like, oh, wow, that is kind of unusual. I wonder if that was coincidence or there's some intention behind that. I don't know. I haven't heard anything. Have you guys heard anything on that?
the only thing that I can think of is that how sometimes, even though this is a horror movie, when it comes to the Academy Awards, they usually try to release movies closer to the end of the year so they can qualify for consideration and things like that.
Right.
That's the only thing that I can think of because horror is usually not really looked upon well for the Academy, so maybe it has nothing to do with that. But
Yeah.
it is kind of weird that they chose December 26th to release this.
Right. Yeah. So go ahead. Were you going to say something, Alex?
Oh no, just the same thing. Like, I think it had to do something with the award season, and most likely also like they wanted to be, incorrect just with the date because
Yeah.
Mr. Jesus was born the day before. So
Yep.
it's not a bad way to advertise your movie. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty smart advertising if you think about it.
No, yeah, for sure. Just like, oh, what is this? Something going against the, like, kind of you were mentioning, going against the grain. This movie comes out day after Christmas. What is this?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
That adds to the curiosity, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, one thing I read that speaking of the actual title, one thing I had read was that they, I forgot who specifically. I don't know if it was the executives at Warner Brothers, but they were thinking about changing the name because it didn't do too well in a survey. A lot of people didn't know who or what an exorcist was when they first were putting it out, but for whatever reason they kept it. Yeah, so I didn't do too much reading beyond that, but yeah, I thought it was just funny. I mean, and I didn't honestly before the movie. That's the only thing I knew of, and I think that's how I learned what an exorcist was. I think it's because of the movie. It came in, and I had the curiosity, and I went to go look it up. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
You think it's studio interference with something new? They've been interfering with movies since
Yeah, for a while.
the beginning of movies.
Yeah, so exactly. But you got, actually, speaking of Oscar nominations, something I wasn't aware of until recently, but some of you already may be aware of, was that this movie was nominated for 10 Oscars, right? So one of them here, that was supposed to be last. Whoop, bum bum bum. Best Picture. So 10 Oscar nominations, and I always heard 10 Oscar nominations, but I was always curious what those 10 were, and so I pulled them up here out of curiosity and to share with all you here what those were, who are also curious. So we have Best Picture for one. I got there on the bottom. Best Actress in a Leading Role for Ellen Burstyn, who played Chris, Reagan's mom. So she got a nomination. Best Actress in a Supporting Role for Linda Blair, of course. Yeah, interesting tidbit on this one. So she, I don't know how many were aware of this. Again, this is something that I wasn't aware of, but there's a different person, another actress who did the voices for when when Reagan was possessed. So when she was speaking like the demon, that was another person, and so she was nominated because of her role in general, for Reagan, including the voices. And so that wasn't widely known at first, but then she was nominated and that became widely known, but because they already submitted her name, they couldn't withdraw it for how that process works. I don't know if that's still the case, but so there was two characters playing Reagan, I guess, in essence. And so by the time they found that out, it was too late to withdraw her. So that actually, knowing that the what do you call them, the members of the what is it called? What are they called? The members that
The Academy members?
The
yes,
Academy.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, the Academy. They kind of, I don't know if they were supposed to or not, but they kind of kept that in the back of their heads. And from what I was reading, that hurt her chances actually of winning. And so that was pretty interesting. And so I just wanted to. I just thought were you guys aware of that?
No.
Yes. Now, I still think that she should have been nominated just for everything else. I know that it wasn't her voice. It was another actress who did the voice. But even everything else, because she has to still do the physical, she still has to do all the actual, movements and be able to, do all those things that she does in the movie
Right.
as a child, and needs to remember to do all those things. And also know that they're not going to use her voice, so she still has to act. So I still think it was worthy of her nomination. I still think that she should have won, in my opinion, but that's kind of how I see it for that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I definitely agree. So, but I just that was kind of unfortunate and interesting. It's kind of both. So continuing on here, we got Best Actor in a Supporting Role for Jason Miller, Father Karras, who was the main priest in the movie. And we'll go through these later. We'll kind of show who these people are for those that don't know. But another interesting fact about him was this movie was his first film debut. Before this, he was a playwright and he was writing plays, and he started some plays. And I think I had read from what I understand, Friedkin went to a play and saw Jason Miller in there, and really considered him for a role and wanted him in a role. But I think he Jason Miller refused it at the time. But then I guess he thought about it and called the director William Friedkin back up and was like, "Hey, I want to be in it." And so he went in, auditioned, and Friedkin was still sold. He was like, all right. At first he was like, I don't know, it was too late, pal. You had your chance. I asked you, you said no. But Friedkin was like, okay, actually, I'm sold again. So he brought him back in.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, that was really cool. The first film debut and already nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah.
I mean, he had some experience, I guess, in plays and theater and stuff, but still, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, right. All right, here. So, man, these are all out of order. What did I do? Best Director, William Friedkin. This guy, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with him other than The Exorcist. I believe he also directed The French Connection, which I admittedly haven't
Beautiful
seen yet.
movie. You need
Is
to
it?
watch it. Yeah, it's a
Okay.
beautiful movie. Yes.
That's going to go on. After this movie and doing, looking more into this, I think I might, because I was really impressed with everything he did in this movie. He does have
If you can't buy it, if you find it on Blu-ray, get it, because Disney censored it. So
Disney what? Sorry.
censored the movie on
Oh,
Disney
okay,
Plus.
censored.
So
I got
yeah, so if you can buy the Blu-ray, just,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Good to know. Is it rare?
I don't think it's hard to find,
No? Okay.
but still, I mean, it's not a big deal what they censored in the movie, but still, you want to experience the thing like the way it's supposed to be, not with the
Right, for sure.
Oh, the
new
edit.
censorship laws.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I don't like when that's one of the downsides to streaming. That's a topic for another stream. But yeah, for those possibilities of them being able to edit at will, right?
But I think you like it. I think
Okay.
everybody should like it.
Yeah. Gotcha. I'll put that on the list though. Thank you. So yeah, he has some extreme directing tactics, which I'll go over, when we talk more about the movie. But yeah, there was some interesting things that I was kind of like, wow, I was pretty
conscious.
did one of those to find out. All right, so continue on here with the nominations. Best writing, William Peter Blatty, who was also the author of the book that the movie was based on. This won. This is one of the ones they won. Best cinematography, best art direction, set direction, best sound, which they also won for, and best film editing. And I have to say, after watching this in theaters, I agree with all these nominations, especially the writing and the sound. I believe that was well deserved for me.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any thoughts on this, Gio?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what other movies were. At least I don't recall what movies were up for the Oscars that year for 1973.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, real quick, now that you mentioned that. So, it was The Sting. I looked this up because I was curious as well. So it was The Sting, which ended up being the winner for Best Picture. American Graffiti, A Touch of Class, and Cries and Whispers.
American Graffiti is really good though, but this thing I haven't seen. That's with what's the name of that?
Paul Newman.
Paul Newman. There you go, Paul Newman. I remember that won Best Picture. Not that I was alive or anything, but I just remember that it won. But
back in the day when I was
no, I wasn't alive. But yeah, so I thought it was a great movie there. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, American Graffiti is a George Lucas movie, so I remember I liked that movie. But I would still give it to The Exorcist.
Me too.
But like I said, I haven't seen the other two, so I mean, I don't know. But no one really talks about this thing, though. Not really.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's one of those movies that people tend to like. It happens all the time. It wins Best Picture, and nobody ever remembers the movie again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this one is actually like The Sting is pretty good, but I think The Exorcist is better. And I mean, it's been 50 years, and people still think about this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Big influence, big impact on the film industry. And honestly, like I said, I haven't seen any of these other films, to be honest here, and so I can't really, I guess, fairly say if it's better than others. But just from what I've seen, as far as Best Picture, but just from what I've seen, I really enjoyed it. I was really impressed for a movie from then, that era, that time. I was really impressed as they gave me a big appreciation for what they did, what was done, how they, some of the things that they did, the work they put into it. I was just, really impressed. So
it's also very rare for the Academy to recognize a horror movie like this.
Yes.
Back then, even now, I mean, that's still not that common. It's still kind of rare for any horror, recognition, Oscar nominations, Best Picture, things like that. So, that's
exactly.
That's pretty close to it. So.
Yeah, and you just reminded me. Thank you. So this film was actually the first horror film to be nominated for Best Picture. Speaking of, and after that, there've been 5 additional. So the last I checked, there was 6 total as to date horror films that have been
in 50 years, right? In 50 years.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, which is again really interesting. So that kind of just shows you, this being the first horror film to be nominated for an Oscar.
Do you remember which were the other ones?
I didn't write it down. I know the last one was Get Out. That was the last one. I can't remember what year that was, but
now I don't know. Did they consider The Sixth Sense as a horror?
That's horror. Yeah, that was nominated. Well. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Black Swan was in there. Yeah, I can't remember what year, but I remember seeing Black Swan in there as well.
Okay.
Yep. So whether you consider that horror or not,
I don't know. Like I wouldn't consider that one horror.
I mean, I don't.
I don't.
Yeah.
It's the closest to horror, I guess, we'll get for a
The Academy did, so apparently, I got that. But again, this is just the Academy. Whether you follow it or not, I personally don't. But this just kind of just to show you what it was nominated for. Like I said, I was curious. I looked it up, and so just for those who follow that. Let me see here, make sure. But yes, thank you for those reminders, Gio.
Those fun facts are always fun.
Yeah, I agree. So and believe me, I went with the help of the R&D department of Prestige worldwide. I did a lot of research on this just because I was curious, and it's one of the reasons why I enjoy doing these name. I keep wanting to turn it into a game. Name that movie.
Well, it's a
one
game.
movie. Yeah, no, that one movie is because it allows me to go in and read more about something I already enjoy, right, Phil?
Yeah.
So I get to read more about specific movies, and this one in particular, and I learned a lot that I wasn't aware of before, and so I was like, oh man. But yeah, I agree that finding out those little pieces of trivia that a lot of people don't know are cool to learn.
It always makes you appreciate the movie even more when you see the work that was behind it. Like all those little things make everything even more special.
Yep, I agree. So yeah, just again to show how popular and how well this film has done. Again, this is the last I checked to date as far as grossing, right? This is WB's top highest grossing film worldwide, and that's adjusted for inflation, right, to level the playing field. I went to look and see what that was, and from everything I've been reading, this film to date has made $2.9 billion dollars. Again, that's adjusted for inflation worldwide.
Wow.
Yeah, and I checked multiple sites and I did the conversion myself. I saw what it made not opening, but so far, on a few websites in that era, and then I just converted it myself, and yeah, I got 2.9 billion. But correct me if I'm wrong in the chat or in the comments. But I think this is WB's highest grossing film worldwide.
The devil is very powerful.
Yeah, yeah, no, right, or at least draws curiosity.
And on
The
the
second-
day after Christmas.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know, right? But I think, and I believe that's ticket sale. That's box office sales, and so that's what I compared. And just for comparison, the second highest grossing film worldwide to date, again adjusted for inflation, was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and that was $1.7 billion for that one. So yeah, that's a big difference. But again, yeah, it's maybe I wasn't. I looked at a few sources, but if I'm mistaken on any of that, please let me know. Either way, 2.9 compared to $1.7 billion is a big jump. So even if I'm off by, $500 million or something,
It's
still
a lot of money.
it is. Yeah. Either way, it's a lot of money. Whether it's first or not, it's a lot of money. Yeah. And there have been some, re-releases. I don't know how many, but for instance, I went to see this this past October. They re-released it for the 50th. It's in celebration of the 50th anniversary, and so they re-released it in theaters. There's like select theaters, select times and days. I think there's only 2 days and certain times within those days.
Yep.
And I went to go see it one of those days, and yeah, I'll talk about that more here in a little bit. But yeah, so that's big money there for this film. Let's see. Oh, it also spawned a parody sequel. You've made it if somebody parodies your movie.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if
I
you guys
remember.
remember in
I do.
1990. Yeah, there is a direct sequel that was a parody called Repossessed with
Yes.
Leslie Nielsen.
Oh,
And
I've never seen that. Maybe
yeah.
I didn't even know about it.
Oh, you
yeah,
need to
I'll-
check it out.
yeah.
So right now,
It's been a while for me, actually. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't seen it in a while, but I do remember seeing at least parts of it, or in my memory. But the interesting fact is that Linda Blair comes back, and she reprises her role, and she's older. But yeah, I just thought that was really cool that she came back for it.
I need to see that then.
It's not a great movie, but it's fun to see. It's better than
Yeah.
Scary Movie and all that crap. So
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause that's the only spoof that I was thinking of, is that Scary Movie 2 with
yeah,
that's the one that I was thinking of when you said a spoof, and then you brought this one. I was like, what?
Yeah.
yeah, you need to
Repossessed.
check it out. You need
Yeah,
to check it
Leslie
out.
Nielsen, 1990. Yeah, I think I need to go back and watch
Like
it.
it's a guy from from Airplane, so it's like
Yeah. Naked
you
Gun,
can-
Airplane.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I mentioned earlier this movie is based on the book, which is also written by William Peter Blatty. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it's Blatty or Blady. I think I'm going to say Blady.
I say both.
Yeah, I say well. So yeah, that's this book here on the left, and I can't remember. I forgot to write down when this came out, but basically the book and just like the movie is based on true events, right? They say true events of the exorcism of Roland Doe. That's this gentleman here in the middle. I think this is an older picture of him, but he was 13 at the time. There were reports of his exorcism, and this was the father here on the right that performed the exorcism. Let me see here. Sorry, Father Bodern, and this took place in 1949. So that was when the reports came in. So another thing I learned that made this movie scary when I was younger is that, we all hear, oh man, this was based on true events. But come to find out, this William Peter Blatty, he did his research also that inspired this book. But and his story here in this book were based, and the Exorcism of Roland Doe were based on articles that were published, and a lot of it is just hearsay, right? It's anecdotal accounts, right? There wasn't really any specific witnesses to come and say, to confirm what other people have said. It's kind of just more like hearsay. And so there was a lot of articles published like, oh, boy was possessed and things like that. Kind of like tabloid type stuff, to kind of sell papers. So there was no proof, and it's still a mystery to this day of whether or not he was actually possessed or not. But he ended up growing up. He became an engineer at NASA, apparently. And he passed away in 2020. He was, let me see, in his 80s, I want to say. I think he was 80, exactly, if not 80 something. But yeah, he lived a long life. He kind of hid his past from anyone knowing, just because, he didn't want to get any drama or have any attention on that towards him. Were you guys aware of that at all? About this, the backstory on this?
Yeah, I've
no
heard
idea.
about it.
You heard about you?
That is loosely inspired on this
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
I think he was in St. Louis, I believe,
Yeah.
where it happens, and then they took him to. I think they did take him to Georgetown at one point, and then they took him back to the Exorcist. I'm sorry, to St. Louis to do the exorcism, I should say. And I think they tried like 3 times or something like that, and
Yeah, supposedly it took about 6 weeks, I think is what they're reporting, for this exorcism, and it was in 2 spots. I think one of them ended up being like Maryland, and there were accounts where somebody was saying he was from a certain part in the east, New England area, but it turns out he actually lived somewhere else. And so yeah, there was just a lot of, he said this, she said that type of thing, and so and it's kind of one of those, that kind of lessens the realism of it, just knowing, okay, I think that'll kind of, once people hear that, I think that'll kind of ease their mind that, oh man, this has to be true because it's based on, it says true events. But as we all know, sorry about that. There's some movies who just flat out lie, right? They just straight up use that as a advertising gimmick. The 2 I can think of off the top of my head are Fargo, right? Those, it says true events, but that wasn't actually based on, that's not how anything played out. I mean, some of the incidents that happened there were loosely based on certain things, like certain deaths, but the overall movie and story is just all like false, right? It's non-fiction. It's all fiction. And the other one is the Blair Witch Project, right? That one thrived on selling the hype that it was true events and everything, all that. You guys remember that?
That's a masterclass in advertising.
Yeah, it is.
Dude, they hid their actors for a year or 2, so nobody would know where they were, who they were. It's insane what they did. It's admirable. The movie cost like $100,000 and it made I don't know how much money. It's crazy.
Yep. Yeah. It was crazy. Yeah, and this actually had similar incidences happen when people were watching it. When people saw us in theaters, there were reports of people throwing up, passing out, fainting, and just leaving the theater. And similar to Blair Witch Project, right? There were some people who throwing up, but for different reasons. That was because the whole shaky camera.
Yeah, the shaky camera.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's funny, but I even read that there were reports where certain theaters, when they were showing this in their theater, they were handing out vomit bags just in case, because people had thrown up so many times. They're like, well, you might as well just give them vomit bags just in case.
And I guess the attendance and church going went up after watching The Exorcist.
Oh, did it? Yeah.
And then also a lot of people were requesting exorcisms on themselves and other people in their family and things like that. So it started this whole thing.
Yeah, it brought a lot of popularity back to the Catholic Church for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of increased adding to the hype of the movie, right? They're like, oh
Yeah.
man, what is going on? This movie's making that big of an impact. So yeah, I going back to when I went to go see this in October. One of the things, it was kind of cool because what I wasn't expecting, I don't think I read anywhere, is they had a special opening, and they were talking about the impact of the movie. Basically, what I already mentioned about opening on Christmas and 10 Oscar nominations and things like that, and the author. One of the things they also mentioned was that the when this movie came out, or I don't know if they had a special screening, but the Vatican was trying to push this movie to get a an X rating. Right? Obviously, that
Yeah.
didn't fly over, but yeah. So going to what you guys were saying about church attendance and related to that, it was pretty interesting. This movie had definitely an impact. It was
And
banned in
Warner
some.
was super happy to hear that, like, this movie's gonna make more money just because the Vatican wants it to be banned.
Yeah.
With the
Yeah.
word of mouth, that marketing that you can't buy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
All that unintentional marketing. Yeah, it was so I thought that was interesting. It's just all this hype leading up to the movie, and I was going to mention that it was banned in some countries. Some countries didn't even show it, and yeah, it's just really impactful overall to this date on in the film industry, and influential.
Yes.
But so, Gio, what were your thoughts when you first went to go see this in theaters, or whenever you saw it on Journal? Sorry, not in theaters, but just if you did see the re-release, or just when you saw it, what were your overall general
Um,
non-spoilery thoughts?
well, I first saw the movie when I was a kid. I think I was like maybe like 10, 12 years old or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've heard about the movie. It's just I never really tried to watch it. And then this one time I did watch it, and I was pretty scared of watching it.
Yeah.
Um, I remember we didn't watch it because I watched it with like my cousins, I believe, if I remember correctly,
Mm-hmm.
with my cousins, and I think we watched it during the day. I don't think we even tried to watch it at night. But I watched it. It was a great movie. It was terrifying. There was a lot of stuff in there that I'd never seen before, and it just
Mm-hmm.
became an instant classic to me. And it still is my favorite horror film of all time. Um, Shortly after that, I think they did a re-release in 2000 of The
Mm-hmm.
Exorcist, and I was trying to watch it in theaters again with my cousins and a couple friends. We went to the
Yeah.
theater and we tried to watch it, but we were still under 17. I was still under 17, so we are trying to get someone to buy us a ticket. And then I remember asking this older man, like, "Do you buy a ticket for us for this R-rated movie?" And he was like,
Yeah.
"Which movie?" I was like, "The Exorcist." He's like, "No," and then he walked away.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my god!" So I was like, "No one wanted." And then we tried someone else too, and they just kept saying no. It's like, so we didn't see it in theaters. I
Mm-hmm.
had already seen the movie, but you know how the original didn't have that spider walk,
Yep.
Yeah.
and then they added it later for the.
The unrated, what was it? The old, I
The
don't remember the
director's
name.
cut or something like that. The
Yeah, right,
extended.
right. The director's cut, and then
The
the
version you've never seen
Yes.
before, or
right.
something
Yeah,
like
that's what it
that.
was
Yeah.
called. That's what it was called.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to see that, and we weren't able to watch it. Then I had to wait until it actually came out again on, I think, DVD at that point,
Yeah.
maybe. Um, so they did that re-release like you mentioned in October for the 50th anniversary, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna watch it because I wanted to see it in theaters. I like to watch some of my favorite movies in theaters if I didn't get a chance to because there wasn't a live or whatever the case.
Right.
Um, so in this case, I was denied The Exorcist in 2000, but I was able to watch it. I took went with a couple friends, and then my brother had never seen it, so I went with him too, and then he watched it, and it's greatest horror film of all time. Now the only thing is that throughout the years, I've noticed that some um, like when I've seen the movie with other people when they're watching it for the first time, they don't really find it really scary.
Yeah.
I think maybe because you know how The Exorcist pretty much inspired all these horror movies or exorcism movies, and a lot of people have already seen those type of movies. So when you get
Yep.
to The Exorcist for the first time, it kind of loses its impact in a way.
Right.
So I think some of the more younger generation may not find it scary, like
Mm-hmm.
like maybe we would, like when I was younger.
Yeah.
anything like that existed. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on that one.
Yeah. No, yeah, I definitely agree. Alex, what about you? What were your thoughts, your overall thoughts on this when you saw this for the first time? I don't know
I,
when you saw it, but if that was a while ago.
I watched it when I was 8 years old,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, and it was pretty strong movie to watch at that age, and it was really it impacted me in a really bad way because Mexico is a really Catholic country, and I was in a
Right.
Catholic school,
Yeah.
and my grandma was super Catholic and everything. Like she would always tell me these crazy stories about Jesus and the devil, and I was very curious. So I went to Blockbuster with my mom, saw the movie,
Yeah.
grabbed the VHS, took it home. She didn't realize that I rented The Exorcist.
You rented that.
Yeah, put it in my bedroom at 6, 7 p.m. I was terrified. I went to bed with her. I was super scared. Like I couldn't believe what I watched. I had the worst weekend of my life. Like I couldn't sleep. I couldn't
Yeah.
take a shower because I felt that someone was watching me.
Yeah, I bet.
But it was
Is what-
one of those things that I'm so grateful that I watched it back then
Mm.
because I think that when you watch a movie like that, when you're super innocent and when you really don't understand the difference between real and fiction,
Mhm.
it's so cool. And the way it makes you feel about life and about so many things, you can't compare it with anything else. Like when you
Right.
watch a movie at that point in your life, like it's like when you watch Star Wars for the first time. Like if you watch it when you're a kid and or you watch it when you're 30, like it's gonna affect you in a very different way.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it was a tough one to watch, and then I watched it in theaters for the first time when they released that cut, the spider
You haven't
walk
seen
thing.
before?
But I was
Yeah.
like 12 or 13, I don't
Oh,
remember.
okay. Yeah.
But in Mexico, it was pretty easy to get in the movie theater. You just say like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Who
18.
cares?
yeah. My mom asked me to buy tickets. My mom asked me to buy tickets, and they're all okay. Yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Mm.
Not as impactful as the first time or the couple times before that I watched it at home.
Right.
Yeah.
And I actually feel that that cut of the movie is not as good as the theatrical cut.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think that it's like what happens nowadays with the unrated cuts of horror movies that they try to add things, in my opinion, that weren't really necessary to make the movie experience better. Like for me, the crucifix thing when she's
Yeah.
doing the little thing with that, I
Yeah.
don't think that's really necessary.
Mm.
But I think
Okay.
it's strong enough for people to feel disturbed about it.
Yeah.
And then I watched it again in theaters in Vancouver in 2013, a 35 millimeter copy of the
Oh,
Chet
okay. Yeah.
release. It was pretty cool. So yeah, I love that movie. It's also my favorite horror movie. Yeah.
And they added those subliminal messages, those images for
Yeah.
the director's cut, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Full
because
demon.
that I don't. I remember when I first saw it, thought it was okay, but like later in life, it's like it doesn't really work for me. The little subliminal messages.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of, yeah, that kind of took me out a little bit from the time they did. I actually have an image of that, and that we'll go there when we do the spoiler discussion, when we go through the actual movie. But yeah, there was an interesting tidbit on that trivia that I found out. But yeah, I know I agree. When that showed up, those times they did, I was like, it looked kind of cheesy. It was like they probably could have did without.
Yeah, for me, honestly, the spider walk is like, really? Do we need that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I do like that spider walk though. What that the performance of Ellen Burstyn when she sees that,
Yeah,
Yeah.
sees the spider walk, like I like that more than the actual spider walk itself.
totally.
I like her reaction to it.
Yeah.
It's
I
like, yeah,
agree.
that would have gotten her the Oscar right there, and that one
Yeah.
little shot right there, because you can totally tell like her acting is like, yeah, she's completely terrified of this thing that's just walking down the stairs in a spider walk. It's
Yeah.
kind of
But, but
crazy.
but you know what? Like I agree with you. Like her performance is fantastic. But I think it's even better when she sees Regan in her bedroom and she turns around. When Regan turns around, like, you know what she did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think like just the way she's like the way she's looking at her daughter for me is more impactful because there's nothing like too intense happening at the moment in that scene.
Yeah,
In the catwalk, like you have the blood and all that stuff, and I think is like it's too much. The other one feels more like, for me, the less is more. So yeah,
I see. Yeah, I
Yeah,
kind of
overall great performance.
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I definitely agree on Ellen Bernstein's performance on all those scenes. And but yeah, I think I didn't see the theatrical version. That's probably you need to probably go back and see that to compare. I just saw the you've never seen before theater version. That I think them adding those additional scenes in there probably added to the like you were saying the how disturbing it was and kind of to show you know how, what a child innocent, well, quote unquote innocent, she appears innocent in the beginning, but making her do these things just kind of adds to like the shock value basically, and just how this the possession is affecting her, and it just adds to that, yeah, that shock factor basically. So I kind of
yeah.
didn't mind it, because without it, it kind of seemed like it would have been a while before something happened, which is something I was going to hear touch on. So yeah, just like you, Gio, I went to go see this in October, like I mentioned. So one thing that I learned was that that was a newly remastered version that was created from the original negatives of the film. So I thought that was pretty interesting. That's one account that I had read, and I think that was a process, but I'm not sure if that was actually confirmed or not. It seems like it was because it looked pretty good. The sound was really good. Also, again, best sound winning that. But yeah, I was really impressed by the sound. And similar, same to you, Gio. The reason why I went to go see it is because I had never seen that in theaters. Obviously, came out before I was born, also, and so I wanted to experience that. And it was one of those movies that a lot of people mention, right? That it really scared them when they were younger. Alex, obviously, you're a good example of that. And they hadn't seen it in a while. And it was always that memory that was like, oh man, that's one of the scariest horror movies I've seen. And I never went back to it. From when I had seen, I think, clips of it. I don't think I saw the whole movie when I was younger, just certain scenes. I remember certain things. And so this would have been the first time that I went to see it in a while, for one, and seeing it in the theater. So it was kind of a double win there. And I was really excited and really glad I was able to have the opportunity to see it in theaters. I was meant to be seen. So I thought that was really cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Overall, I would say I liked the movie. It was probably be my maybe top 5 horror movies. It wouldn't be my number 1 though, because it was a slow build. I will say, for those that haven't seen it, this movie does have a slow build. And it's not until you see the famous scene that's probably like after 3/4 of the film. But there's like certain events that lead up to it. We were mentioning there's like the spider walk, which I'll touch on. There's just certain things that there's incidences here and there that Reagan does. She acts out, verbally and then physically here, piece by piece, and it's definitely a slow build. So you kind of, some people may be turned off on that just because it's slow to start. So that's the only thing I didn't like about it. Probably the first part, a good chunk of the beginning of the movie is just setting up the characters, getting you familiar with them and establishing some sort of connection to them all. And but overall, for writing wise, it was well done. Everything else that it was nominated for, I definitely agree. The acting, the effects, it was just I already mentioned the sound, the cinematography, everything I agree with. Yeah, it was just the pacing was a little off for me. All right, so let me see here. I'm trying to see if I mentioned everything with that, but because we're gonna get into the spoiler discussion here, is there anything else you guys wanted to add here on the high level? Or are you guys good? You guys ready to get on to talk about the actual movie?
Yep.
All right. So, yeah, before we go on, warning. I know this is a 50-year-old movie. We were talking about this backstage. I was like, I'm pretty sure people have seen it, but like I said, I just want to be consistent, give, let people know that we're in that territory for those that haven't seen it. And this movie the stream is making you curious and you haven't seen it and you want to go back and watch them. Just letting you know, now's your time to shut it down, mute or whatever, come back to it later. I don't mind. Thank you for being here for this first section, this non-spoiler discussion. I appreciate your viewership. But if you want to come back, shut it down now. No worries at all. No offense. Just as long as you get an opportunity to see it, whether you like it or not, as long as you take the opportunity to see it. All right. So with that, we will go ahead and go in. So, yeah, the movie opens in Iraq. There's Father Marin. This is Father Marin, one of the key characters in the film. They show him, at a dig site. He's going through some pieces, and he uncovers a little what do you call, like a emblem, a totem of the demon who we'll see here in a little bit. And I think that's probably like the kicking off point of him unearthing or maybe releasing. Although it was kind of easy, would you guys say? He was just digging. There was like a hole. It didn't seem like it was too locked up. So I don't know. I'm still not sure if he actually released it then, or it was just, they disturbed the area of where those sites were. I don't know. What do you guys think, Gio?
I'm not sure about that. I know that the character, uh, the father, didn't he? He's encountered. I don't know if it's that specific demon, or if it's another demon in the past before the
I think it's the same one. It's Pazuzu. I
same
think
one,
it's the same one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pazuzu, because I know the
Yeah.
the little statue or the little whatever thing that he uncovers. I know that's based on I think like an ancient Mesopotamia
Yep.
real demon or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
We'll go over that here in a little bit. But yeah, you're right.
yeah, so I think it's something that maybe it wasn't just accidental, maybe because he has interacted with I think this demon before.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you brought up a good point because I didn't. I know, I haven't seen it, but I believe the sequel does that, right? Doesn't it cover that aspect of it where he does, and that took place in Africa, that previous exorcism he performed? Is that right?
Oh, the prequel, the one,
I think it's
yeah, when he's
Exorcist
younger,
2,
right,
The
in Africa.
Heretic.
It's pretty bad. No, the second one is with Linda Blair too.
Right,
The
right.
third one is fantastic. The third one was directed by the writer, by William
Blatty.
Blatty. That one's pretty good. That one's pretty
Oh,
good.
yeah, yeah.
But they made one in 2001, 2002 called The Exorcist Beginning, and it
Yeah,
was about him
Oh, I see.
in
Okay.
Africa facing that. It's really bad. It's really bad, but
it is bad.
it's very, very
It's really
bad.
bad. Yeah.
But
Warning.
I don't know, like I never read the book. It's one of those movies that I really didn't want to read the book because I felt that it might ruin the experience for me.
Yeah, same.
But maybe they mention it in the book or there's another book about this. I really have no idea. Just like I never went and looked that up just because I felt that it might, you know,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
think
Yeah,
there
I
was,
gotcha. Yeah.
I think there was something in the movie that inferred that he's dealt
Yeah,
with a demon before, right?
Yeah, they mentioned, yeah, later
they
on.
mention an exorcism,
Yeah.
and
Oh, okay, that's okay.
yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah, they
And then
mentioned that. You can see that he is always like facing good and evil in his life,
Yeah.
like this particular image. Like you can see that that woman stares, looks at him straight at the eyes. I think she's the one with the glass eye. I think.
Yeah, in the carriage.
Yeah,
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's a
yeah.
Like
little bit after this scene.
there's always that kind of stuff with him. Like there's
I
always
see.
evil lurking at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
Um,
very uneasy scene. It's like
yeah,
the whole opening. It's kind of like unsettling, and
yeah,
there's not
yeah.
much going on, but it's just weird.
yeah,
Yeah, one of the modifications they made to that, like you've never seen before, was they opened, I believe, in Georgetown, and they kind of did some panning shots of the city, whereas in the original theatrical release, I think they just started in Iraq in the grave site, or sorry, the
Yeah, I think
excavation
so.
site,
Yeah,
right? So yeah, so this is, they show them digging, Father Marin here. It's kind of funny. I noticed, they do these long panning shots of the characters just walking, like through certain, aspects of their environment, basically. And this was no different. He kind of walks through like an alley, and I didn't understand the significance of that. I don't know if it's just kind of just set up the, his background maybe, or just a symbolism of who he is as a character. I'm not sure, but well, I have some other screenshots here where the other two characters that they introduced, they also have similar walking scenes where they kind of just follow them in their respective environments. It's kind of interesting. So let's see here. Going on to the next one here. Oh, as you guys mentioned, so he finds that emblem, that symbol, that idol, that little, yeah, that little trinket, if you will, of Pazuzu, is that's the name of this demon, and he goes back and he has some sort of instinct or something. There's like he has some sort of something is bothering him. He goes back to the site, and that's where he finds this statue here, and we have this showdown, which I'm sure a lot of you recall or have remember here. This is one of the famous
Oh yeah, I
scenes
remember
where,
the shot.
yeah, there's like a showdown here, and like Gio was mentioning, one thing I learned again going doing some research on this and on the demon itself was that yeah, like Gio mentioned, this is a Pazuzu's based on a Mesopotamian religion. He's actually the demon of the or the demon or the king of the winds, is what I guess what they label him, specifically like the southeast wind or southwest wind. Sorry if that even matters. But yeah, the winds, and it turns out he's actually meant to be more of a good symbol. He was used to repel other like symbols of him or little statues or trinkets of him were used to repel other demons, and he was seen as a protector of pregnant women and mothers. So I thought that was really interesting.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, it was. So on the left here, you can see an actual. That's what an actual statue of him was made to look like. I forgot what era or when this was found, but and the one on the right, you can see what they use in the movie. They kind of, embellished it a little bit, took some liberties on how on his parents, made him more demon-like. And then down here, you can see they have this like, there's like this
Snake.
phallic, yeah, the snake that kind of looks to be like a phallic symbol, which is kind of similar to down here, right? But it's not as pronounced as it is here. He's like, full on excited right here, and
Yeah.
I think that sets a tone for the rest of the movie, because when he's actually the demon that ends up possessing Regan, and the things she says and the things she does is very like sexual related. There's a lot of sexual innuendos and just straight up just like vulgarness related to like sexuality, and so yeah, it was kind of interesting. There's some theories on the themes in that, but I'll go over that later on towards the end there, after we go through some of the slides here. But yeah, you guys have any other thoughts here on this? Just the resemblance here and the influence or the inspiration for this demon.
Yeah, they made it look more creepier than the actual.
Yeah,
Actual bad.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yep. But yeah, so so that was the kind of somewhat of the opening, and then we get into they bring in Chris McNeil, Regan's mom of the McNeils, right? So they bring in Chris, and she's an actor or actress, sorry. And they open. They're about to film a scene, and her friend is here. Her friend slash her boss, because he's a director. This is Burke Dennings. And an interesting tidbit here is this is actually William Peter Blatty right here. So the author and the writer of this the movie here, and the author of the book.
His
And I wasn't
cameo.
aware that. Yeah, his cameo. Yeah, in
Yeah.
this film, and so this is him here on the right. I thought that was really cool. I like when people who are involved in the source material are in their own movies or movies
Yeah,
that were
me
inspired by
too.
him, like Stan Lee, for instance. How Stan Lee was always with
Oh
this.
yeah,
It's really cool.
Stanley or Hitchcock when he has the little cameos
Yeah,
in his
yeah,
movies.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, were you guys aware that he was in there? That this was him?
Yeah.
You did?
I
Okay.
actually didn't. I actually didn't know. I didn't realize it was him. Like I've seen him before, but it's just I still
Yeah.
didn't register that it was him.
Yeah, no, yeah, same. I didn't realize until I started doing research for this movie and prepping for this. Sorry for this stream, and I was like, oh, damn, what do you know? That's That's cool that he was in there. Yeah. So yeah, I mentioned they're introducing Chris. She comes in, and here's another scene with her walking, and this is where that beat drops of the soundtrack of the theme. The famous one, the
Yeah.
yeah, the whole thing
Synth.
comes around the corner. Yeah, the synth. Yeah, and it just kind of gave me some chills, just because I know we've all heard the song, or most of us were familiar with the song, and so when she comes around the corner, they start playing that song. I'm like, oh man, there it is. Yeah, so she's walking here to her home from the set of the movie that in that previous scene, she was on set, and so she's walking home, and they're kind of just showing her walking through her neighborhood. And so, yeah, like I mentioned, I was really impressed. I put in some stills here from the movie. Just like you guys touched on earlier, her acting, man. I think for the most part, I think she. It's kind of tough because Linda Blair did a great job as well. But being a parent myself, I think she. It was really relatable for me and how she would act or how a parent would have acted. I'll touch on that some more in some scenes here, but yeah, she was just, you can see some looks of concern. This in the initially, we see her on the right. She's kind of shows the relationship she has with her daughter and just how playful they are and how loving and innocent, everybody is. And that is I don't know if she was a maid or just a helper here in the background in the red. I believe her name is Sharon, but she's also part of the family. They're living here in Georgetown. And sorry, I forgot to mention that earlier. So this place takes place in Georgetown, and so they're there, I believe, temporarily just while they film that movie. So
Yeah.
I think that's why they
Yeah.
live there, right? Yeah. So what are you guys' thoughts overall on Ellen Burstyn, Alex on Chris?
I think she's like one of the best. Well, I think she and Karas for me are the best parts of the movie. Like how their performance, the way they embody like their frustrations, their
Yeah.
pains. Like I think like it's funny because you never see. Well, I'm not gonna say never, but it's really rare to see this kind of depth in horror movies with
Yeah.
characters. It's not
It is.
that common to see them going through all of the stages of emotions. Like
Yeah.
it's very that's I think that's why this movie is so memorable because you go beyond just the scary stuff. Like you're really there with them, living the day-to-day life, going through the hardships, going through like I love the whole idea of her like being this super famous actor was struggling with her marriage
Yeah.
and trying to raise a kid by herself, and it's like you think that her life is perfect but it is
Yeah.
not.
Exactly.
And I love how they idealize the whole idea of Hollywood and making movies when it's honestly a living hell because you have to pretend to be someone that you are not in a moment when you feel alone. And I think she does a fantastic job portraying all those
Yeah.
emotions. Yeah.
No, yeah, I definitely agree, and that's something I didn't like connect the dots on. You're right. This is kind of her character was kind of like breaking the fourth wall, right? She was like an actress within a movie playing an actress, right? So it was just and you're right. Yeah, she had there. I definitely agree. There was a lot of depth to her, which I really liked about her character, and yeah, and not a lot of people knew about her personal life except for obviously her friend, the director, I believe was Burke, but and some of her coworkers, of course, but yeah, she was dealing with a lot, and yeah, I was that's a good point about she doesn't have a perfect life or she's not like the happiest. Well, she's as happy as she can be, and she has her daughter, and we can see here but she's also going through some issues. What about you, Gio? What were your thoughts overall on
Um,
Ellen Burstyn?
yeah, I thought she was great. Like I said, I like that one scene that I mentioned with the spider walk. Her
Mhm.
performance there, and just overall, she was great in it. Um, and then the other thing about her portraying an actress, and depending on or considering her situation,
Mhm.
this possession, and she's like this famous and I would say rich individual, right?
Yeah.
And it's like she's so helpless as to what's going on with her daughters, like, and doesn't necessarily believe in religion, from what I remember in the
Yeah.
movie. So it's kind of like you have all this exposure, all this accessibility, money, and all this other stuff, but she
Mhm.
doesn't know what to do. She's helpless with this whole demon thing that's going on. So I thought that was kind of cool that they made this character, this way, that you just can't like get away from it, no matter who you are, basically.
Right. Yep. No, yeah, I agree. And, again, this is kind of a testament to how well this was written because not only does she act it, right? You can only do so much with acting, but if you have a poorly written script, right, you can only act it so far.
Mhm.
But I think what helped it was just how well this was written and the dialogue that she has and how she portrayed or interpreted, the script to screen. I was really, yeah, I just couldn't get over like how well she did in this movie. But yeah, So we'll go over more of those incidences, so specific instances where she, really stood out. And I think you guys already mentioned them, so it's not really, shouldn't be a surprise. No spoilers. Well, we are in spoiler territory, so oh well. Yeah. So next major character, we have Father Karras. Sorry if the images here is kind of try to get some clear ones of the specific ones I wanted here, but we have this was Jason Miller, right?
Yeah.
Father Karras.
Yeah.
Again, he was previously a playwright, right? He was in play and theater, in plays, and so film debut, and yeah. So we have his introduction here. Again, walking in his environment, you can see he's more, I think, typical of what you see in priesthood. They don't do it for the money, right? So they're making a lot of money. He actually lives with his mom. He's in a poor part of town. As you can see, there's graffiti everywhere. Everything's all tagged up. It's pretty beat up. That's a big contrast to, let me scroll back here, right, to Chris, right? So again, and then Father Karras, showing where he was. Granted, at the time, that wasn't his home, but he was just there doing that excavation, that dig. But yeah, so really big difference here. And he's walking home too. He lives with his mom in an apartment, really small apartment. So he lives really simple. And so we kind of get a little insight into his life. And again, a big chunk of this movie is just getting to know the characters, learning more about them. And it's not until later on where they all cross paths, very later on down the movie, down the line. And the one thing I noticed, again, looking into this movie, prepping for the stream, is that, it didn't dawn on me until I started getting screenshots that they're all walking in different directions, right? They're all walking, and it kind of seems intentional, because when you look at it, I'm thinking, okay, this person's walking this way, this person's walking this way, and I was like, oh damn, it seems to form like the 3 points of a cross, right? So I put them here for comparison. We have Father Marin here walking vertically down in this case, and there's other shots where he's walking up too, but Father Karras here's walking in from the left. Chris is walking in from the right. This movie is, heavily based on religion, possession, things like that. And in Christianity, as some of you may know, they always refer to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So I don't know if this is just a coincidence, if this was intentional or not, if it's actually symbolic of those 3 things, where Father Marin would be the quote-unquote father, in this case representing that. Father Karras would be the son, because he ends up later on in the movie helping Father Marin, and then the Holy Spirit representing innocence and just joy and life in Chris. I don't know. Did you guys catch that at all?
No, I never noticed that before.
It's a cool way to see it, but like I think it's more the idea of like Marin represents balance.
Okay.
Normally in the westerns and like older movies, heroes would enter frame from left to right, and the villains will enter frame right to left.
Okay.
That's how it's supposed to. Well, it was before, so maybe because I forgot her name. Chris. Sorry.
Chris.
Yeah. Yeah. She's agnostic. She doesn't believe in God, so she's walking right to left, and the priest is walking left to right. But he's also lost. Like he has lost faith. He doesn't believe in the church anymore.
Yeah.
So I really don't know the whole idea behind the shots here.
Yeah.
But I do think it might have something to do like with that. I don't know if that shot of Marin is the first one we see of him.
It's not. He is walking vertically. When he starts walking, I believe, they show him walking again. It's still vertical.
Okay.
All his scenes were either walking, down towards the camera or up, away from the camera. So it's
they might want to show balance. It sometimes it happens like that, and even the way the camera is angled and everything, like.
Okay.
Yeah, there are many factors.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like I said, I this could just totally be nothing.
But the interpretation that you have is pretty cool. Like that's something. Like I'm talking from a technical point.
Yeah.
Of my career, but what you're saying is even more interesting because you're seeing.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too. Yeah, let me know in the chat in the comments. If you're watching this in the replay, if you know the background of it, if there's any intention, if this is purely coincidental. I don't know. Like I said, I just noticed this and I thought it was interesting. But I'm probably just making connections that aren't there. Yeah, I don't know.
It's cool though.
That's always cool. Yeah. Like it's like I want to know who was the person who noticed in The Godfather that every time an orange appeared in frame, someone was going to die. Like those kind of little details are always cool. So,
yeah. So it's just something I noticed.
That's awesome, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Yeah, maybe I gotta after this. I'll probably do some more digging and see if I can find any connection to this or if anyone says anything on that. But yeah, what were you guys' thoughts on the intros here of all of them? Geo, any like characters in specifically or anything that stood out on any of these or any
Uh,
of the scenes?
the main thing is the Iraq scene. Like I mentioned earlier, just the whole opening of that. Because I do
Mm.
remember, 'cause like I said, I first watched it, the original cut, not the one that they
Oh, I see.
released later.
Yeah,
And I do remember that it opened with the Iraq scene,
yeah,
or sequence. And yeah, that whole thing is just like very unsettling. It's just like I feel uneasy watching that whole entire scene. Like I don't even know what it is. It's just I don't even think there's any music. I don't remember if there
It's
was.
just the hammers, just
Right?
yeah,
the hammers. Yeah.
It's
yeah,
something like I said, very unsettling, and it was done very well. So obviously the direction definitely set the mood for this type of movie, and it's kind of a long sequence,
yeah,
opening. But like I said, I just felt like off, unsettling. Like I said,
yeah, yep.
those are the ones that stood out to me more than any of the other intros.
Gotcha. Yeah, what about you, Alex? Were there any that stood out to you more than others, or what did you have any other thoughts in general on the introduction to any of these characters here?
I think same as you. It's just like the opening in Iraq is very abstract,
Mm.
and it's making you ask questions. It's not giving you any answers. Like even all the imagery that you're seeing, like you're building, like there's no dialogue really telling you what you should think. It's just like you need to build up that whole idea of what's going on. It's for you
Yeah,
to to create. They only mention like I think the father has a few lines of dialogue with someone. I don't recall right now
Yeah,
exactly what it is, but for the other characters, like you get to see them more interacting with other people, and it's easier for you to know who they are. But here it's more like you need to understand that this is the good guy and this is the bad guy,
yeah, here,
and
yep,
the rest is up for interpretation, and that's
yeah,
pretty interesting, and it's something like I know for a lot of people right now this might be really slow filmmaking, but I
yeah,
think that we need more of this where they let the audience think for themselves
mm,
and not give you everything like chewed on and be like, okay, here are all the answers.
right, yeah,
Don't I don't know, like I really enjoy this type of introductions and this type of slow burn. Like I think it's very nice, and then the payoff it's even greater because you have this little.
yeah, yeah. No,
It's
yeah, I definitely agree with that. There's a build up there, and you kind of have to. For me personally, I would have to be in like the mood for that, and likewise, I know some people enjoy those straight direct, movies where it's not a slow build and it's just all action,
mm,
and that's they kind of use that as their their unwinding session, right? Their time to
yeah.
relax or just kind of sit and just shut everything else off and just watch something entertaining. Sometimes I do that too, right? It's just
Yeah, we all
there's
do. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's movies where you don't want to think too much; you just want to watch and just be entertained and go through that. So yeah, I think there's definitely a movie for every occasion, and yeah, I agree. You have to be in a certain mood and prepped for a slow rise, a slow ride, I should say, a good build up in this movie. So just FYI heads up there on that.
Yeah, people like they made movies very differently than what how they are being
Today,
made
yeah,
today. Yeah, it's so different.
yeah, yeah. There's still honestly a lot I have to go back and watch. I mentioned haven't seen the Sting or American Graffiti yet, so I have to. I've always heard about those movies that I just haven't. There's there are some gaps there in that time of movies that I need to go back and watch. So let's see here. We had okay, so yeah, the introductions to everyone. So yeah, continuing on from here, Chris, they show her time with Regan, and they're talking, and then she comes downstairs in the basement, and Chris finds this Ouija board here, and she asked Regan, where'd you get this? And she was saying the closet, so it's been there. That was already there in the house from the previous tenants, I guess, or the previous owners or whoever was renting there. And this is actually something that's a similar account happened or that was documented with Roland Roland Doe, that the book was based on,
Yeah.
part of the true events. One of the accounts that people were saying, or others had mentioned, again anecdotal, that his aunt was actually spent a lot of time with him when he was younger. And again, this is the boy that the book was based on that exorcism, and that she would him that Roland and his aunt would use the Ouija board every so often. And I don't know how much, but she actually introduced it to him, and so they would use that. So I'm pretty sure that's where the inspiration for that came from, in here as well. So he probably put that in there. And it's kind of interesting. Those is kind of just in passing. It was just they don't show Regan using it at all. They do here, for instance, but prior to that, she's not. They don't show her talking, asking questions or messing with it. And then Chris's mom offers to use it here at the same scene. And this is, I think, either one of the early events, weird events that happen, right? One of the strange instances. She puts it down in front of Regan. She's like, "Hey, you want to do this with me?" She asks if you want to try it together. And then the little slider thing immediately just goes to no. And then you see here on the right, that's where Chris' mom looked down. She's like, "What the heck?" And she's kind of surprised. And then she ends up looking at Regan. She's like, "You really don't want me to play this, do you?" And then Regan's saying, "No, it's not me. It's Captain Howdy." So that's the spirit that she had already came in contact with that she was referring to. And it ends up being, I'm pretty sure, Pazuzu, right? They don't make the connection, but I think that's how he is brought in, is her using that Ouija board. Do you guys think so?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was one of the earlier ones. One of the early weird occurrences that happened was just the slide of that thing. It was like real quick, and you're like, "Oh damn, it actually moved on its own." But I don't know if the mom just saw it and was like, thought it was Regan or what. Maybe she just didn't think too much of it, and so it was pretty interesting. And then from there, like I mentioned, there's a bunch of other things that start to build up. A lot of weird actions start to happen. Regan starts saying certain things and lashing out in different ways. She goes to, like I think a doctor or two because she's acting weird, and she starts, saying some vulgar things, and the doctor's like, does she, has she ever swore in front of you at all or anything like that? Yeah, so there's just a lot of
That scene is great. Like I love that. It's like a little humorous.
yeah.
In a really bad moment, but
Yep.
kind of funny.
Yeah, and one of the things that happens is she's an artist. She likes drawing, and she also makes things out of clay. And there was one of the weird occurrences that happens is, there's a priest who's walking in the church. He's putting flowers, out next to the statues they have inside, where they hold the mass. And then there's a statue. I think it was a Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
It was like desecrated with clay. They put clay.
Oh, yeah.
Someone put clay like on the chest for the breast and down like in the groin, and to represent like a phallic piece, right, or something like that. And it had like red tips on the end. And I didn't know what exactly that was because, the movie, they don't really specify. But apparently in the book, I didn't read the book, but in the book, it's supposed to be clay. And nobody makes a connection yet, but Regan has a bunch of clay sculptures. They show that early on, and I think it's before this scene here in her room.
Yeah, she has a little lion and
made out of clay, and so that's kind of implying that she snuck out and she desecrated that statue on there. Did you guys catch that, Gio? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I did not connect that. I remember the shot, the scene that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking that it might be, but I didn't like really connect it to anything.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it sounds like Alex, you caught onto that also.
Yeah,
that was kind of interesting. And I was like, oh man, there's like a sign there. And they never went to touch back on it. And I don't recall anyone talking much about it after that. But yeah. So like, go ahead.
No, I said I don't think it's brought up again in the movie.
Right.
Yeah, just little hints and the paintings and all that stuff. You start connecting the dots, but nothing too big.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then another weird event that happened is like Chris was having I think it was a holiday party or some sort of party at her house. And then Regan was upstairs in bed. She ends up coming down later on in the evening of the party, and she says, I think you're going to die up there too. There was an astronaut friend of hers, right? Regan tells that astronaut person, you're going to die up there. And then she just starts peeing on the floor, and she's all just like in this blank stare. And Chris, her mom, kind of gets her and pushes her, or takes her upstairs and bathes her and kind of lays with her. So that was another instance. But I think the major thing that really kind of started questioning a lot of people was the death of Chris's friend, Burke Dennings, the director that I had showed earlier. They didn't actually show his death, but a friend of hers ended up telling her that her friend Burke had died and his neck was twisted, all the way around. I think the detective who comes in later and mentions that to Father Karras when he comes in. And so everyone was just like, oh, wow, what is going on here? What very surprising event. Her friend comes in, Chris's friend comes in and tells her the news right here. And so she can see her on the left. She's really saddened to hear about her friend's death. And that same scene, which is interesting, that's where we get this infamous spider walk here scene down the stairs. So right after Chris is already hurt. She's really by the news of the passing of her friend. After this guy leaves, she ends up hearing a noise. She looks, and then we see Regan coming down the stairs. What were your thoughts on that, Gio? On this whole scene, like this double whammy, like bam, this bad news, and then seeing Regan here coming down the stairs.
Yeah, that's the one that I mentioned. That's the part that I like.
Yeah.
Ellen Bersing's performance there when she sees that, and I think it is. I've forgotten that it was right after when she
news.
learns about this information, right?
Yeah.
About the death of the director. So she's already has all these emotions in her already.
Yeah.
And then she sees something like that and then kind of connecting the dots, and maybe it could have been, her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a great sequence overall, this scene here.
Yeah. What about you, Alex? I know you said you didn't really, you thought the spider walk was unnecessary.
Yeah. For me, it's not the best. Like, I love her reaction and everything, but for me, it's not. It's just, I don't need it. I don't need it for for me. What just happened is impactful enough to move the story forward. I really don't need this shot, and I think that's the reason why they cut it from the theatrical cut, not because it was too intense. Just I think it drags you away from the other moment. It's like, I think it's too immediate for, how to say it. Like, you come from a really strong moment in the story, like the death of the friend, and you go directly next. The next thing you see is the jump scare.
Yeah.
I think it takes you away from the other moment. So
I see. Yeah.
So it's more like, I think it's a matter of taste for me. I'd rather stay with the dramatic moment than with the jump scare, and wait for the other moment when she's in the room with Regan and she's like, "Oh my God, my daughter is messed up."
Yeah.
I'd rather have it like that.
And I do remember. I think I remember hearing that the reason that they did cut that out is because of the wires that they were using, that they were too visible. They couldn't really cut them out.
Yep.
And it just looked too fake. And then later on with the CGI,
they could clean everything up
right. And then they added it back in. So I think that's why they actually removed it, because of that practical effect just didn't really work for them.
Yeah, it didn't look too realistic. And for that time, and that's kind of interesting, right? It was kind of you think back, similar to James Cameron's Avatar, right? He wanted to make this movie, but he didn't have the technology at the time to do it, so it's kind of similar, right? They wanted to take this out because it looked too cheesy, and they didn't really have the technology to make it look any better. And then fast forward 2 years later, they finally added it in, and they were able to clean it up and make it look a little more believable. But another thing I read is that another reason why they put it back in was because Blatty, from what I understand, he originally wanted it in, but Friedkin, for the same reasons, he didn't want to have it in there, so he cut it out. And then Blatty was kind of pissed about that because he wanted it in in the movie, because I believe it happens in the book. Again, I didn't read the book, so I'm not sure. And so Friedkin thought he felt that he owed it to him, because Blatty brought this movie to Friedkin, or he helped Friedkin become way famous, the popularity, just because of this movie. And so I was like, you know what, I'll do this for him, type of thing. So he added it back in for Blatty. So I thought that was kind of cool. Whether that's actually 100% true or not, I'm not sure. That's one of the things I read about it, which I thought was really cool, though. If that was
That's
true,
cool.
that he did that.
I still want
That,
to read the book. Like, I've always meant to get the book
Yeah.
and read it. I still haven't, but I still would like to do that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hold my breath personally. Yeah, I would say I want to, but I know I'm not going to. I know myself.
like I read the Godfather book
Oh man.
after, like, it's one of my favorite movies, and
Yeah.
I went ahead and read it because Mario Puzo wrote the script for the movie, and it was
Yeah.
like
Oh, okay.
I wanna check it out. And I like the book, but I like the movie more. And it wasn't like, it didn't enhance the experience or make it better. It was like, it was so different for me. Like, the perspective and everything in the book was different, and I don't want to go through that
Oh, okay.
with the Exorcist, because it's like, I really like what they did with the movie, because it's the same whole idea. Like, the guy who wrote the book wrote the screenplay, so he knows
Yeah.
what to cut, he knows what he wants you to see, he knows what's important. So
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
I kind of appreciate that. It's not like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, where you know that they adapted the
Yeah.
thing. So
Right. And
I might read it one day.
I kind of did that with Jurassic Park, because Jurassic Park is one of my favorite movies. And I read the book just recently, maybe like I think during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And the
It changed your
screenwriter,
perspective.
a little bit. I mean, there's more. It's a lot more details. I mean, I like
Yeah.
both, but I mean, I still prefer the movie.
And John Hammond is a dick.
Yeah, yes, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like, so I watched or I read it afterwards. It's like, okay, I appreciate the book version. I kind of like separate them in a way, and there's a bunch of big differences in the book for sure, like most adaptations.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's different people. Some people actually die in the book and
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So, but I mean, I like that experience that I first watched this movie, been loving it for decades at that point, and then I read the book. And I think the screenplay was also, I think it was co-written by the author as well.
Oh, okay.
I believe so. I need to double check on that. But I think he was also part of the script of Jurassic Park. So we got kind of those connections there with this movie, and then, like you said, The Godfather and Jurassic Park and stuff like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I'm not much of a. I don't have the patience, I guess, to read the books. I prefer the movies, or the film adaptations, or the TV shows. I just know myself, as much as I want to. I never.
And
read
that's
the book.
cool, man. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
read the book of The Wolf of Wall Street, just because
Oh, okay.
I really wanted to know, like, the difference and all of that. And it's
Yeah.
amazing, like, how similar and different at the same time they are. But it's like, it's a book that I actually recommend if you like the movie. Check it out.
Oh man,
And
I don't
yeah,
know. Yeah, I'm sure it is, but yeah, like I said, for those
I
of you
think
out there, if you're
you'll have
interested,
fun with that one.
yeah, per Alex's recommendation, if you're there and you haven't read it yet, check out The Wolf of Wall Street. It's a
Yeah, it's a pretty fun book.
recommendation there.
Don't be like him. Don't be Jordan Belfort.
Yeah. But yeah, real quick, just to give my thoughts in here. I know we're going a little longer, so I don't want to keep you guys. I know it's late for
It's
you
cool.
guys. So, but yeah, let me know if you have to head out early or not. Just no worries. But real quick, yeah, I personally liked this. To your point, Alex, about it's going from one emotion to another. I felt that was actually consistent with the movie. Like the whole movie was like that, right? It's kind of really jarring. There's a lot of throughout the movie, a lot of quick edits, which I'm guessing is why it won best editing. And it added to that jarring, like, shock sensation. And the same thing here with the emotions you're feeling. It's just like really quick, really powerful. Like, bam, you have one moment where she's feeling sad, and, for the loss of her friend, then bam, you have that sadness in a roller coaster. Quick jump to terror and fear because she sees her daughter coming down the stairs like this. So I think for me, it just added overall to the feeling of it. And I thought it worked well. So, but again, I haven't seen the original theatrical cut. So maybe if I go back and see that, I can give it a fair comparison. But as it stands right now, I think it worked, and it
That's
was
cool.
really.
That's what's cool about talking about movies. We all have different
No, yeah, for
perspectives.
sure. Yeah,
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 like
yeah. Not just.
I really I like the I think I watched this scene in October again because
Yeah,
I watched the theatrical cut again and I wanted to go back and see this and I remember I felt the same way like I don't know like there's something that I prefer of
right. Yeah. No,
the
I get you.
original cut
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, totally fair. I
but it's
definitely
just these
understand.
scene this scene in particular that bothers me.
I got you. Yeah. Oh, real quick trivia. So this isn't actually Blair doing this walk. She got a stunt double to come in and do this, and she was actually walking like this with the help of the wires that we mentioned earlier. But she was actually walking down like this on by herself. So I thought that was pretty cool
Yeah.
that they did that here. All right, so I mentioned earlier that Ellen Burstyn did a good job of reacting and being a worried, concerned parent throughout the film. I mentioned she takes Regan to a bunch of different doctors. Chris is trying to find out what's going on with her daughter, why she's acting out, and she's just worried for her daughter, which any normal parent would be. And so goes to these doctors. They're giving all these recommendations, all these diagnoses, and again, going back to the time, they don't know what's going on. They're just throwing out suggestions like, hey, maybe it could be this. Sometimes people react this way for this reason. Of course they think it's something, some mental disorder, physically, right? So they are performing all these operations on her, and some of them kind of made me cringe, to be honest. Like this scene here on the left.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I forgot what the surgery is or the procedure is called, but where they have to, they made that that little insertion of a needle in her neck. They pulled it out and blood started squirting out, and they have to put like a tube in there. I heard from what I read, people were kind of passing out or fainting on that scene. Yeah, and so she's going from one doctor. They keep repeating or suggesting things, and then ultimately it just comes down to. She even goes to a hypnotist or like some sort of mental clinician. I think at one point, she's going to a bunch of other psychiatrists and therapists, and these group of doctors here to get together, and they're still confused. And the last thing they suggest, they say, it's out of there. This might be a weird suggestion, and it could be out of there. But have you thought about one possible recommendation is exorcism? And their thought being that sometimes people act a certain way because they think they are possessed, like they mentally, even though it's not the case, they think they are. And in the same vein that they think they're possessed, the act of a ritual of someone performing an exorcism can clear them up, even though they never had a possession to begin with. So again, it's all mental thing, and they're kind of throwing that idea. But again, yeah, just kudos to Ellen Burstyn here. Again, relating as a parent, she was asking some of the questions and pushing back on certain things. She's like, well, what the hell? We've already tried this procedure. What does this procedure have to do with her acting out this way? That doesn't make sense. Why would we need to do that? And that just, again, shows a testament to how well this was written. I really was really impressed by how she reacted and how realistic it was, from a parent's standpoint.
Frustration and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, really emotional, and yeah, the pushback she was giving on the doctors and insisting on certain things. She was standing up. She was strong. She was standing up for her daughter, and but she was confused. She didn't know what was going on, and what other choice does she have? So she's just like any parent would. She was just kind of questioning things, but at the same time just trying to find that treatment, something to help her daughter, whatever it would be. What were your thoughts on this whole overall like procedures and her going through all this, Geo?
Uh, the only thing that I kind of think of this when this scene comes up is
Yeah,
I always wonder like how often did movies depict like mental health and behaviors and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah,
Like that was kind of like the only thing that I kind of really thought of. And then there's like all these doctors, like I mentioned earlier, that there's a sense of like helplessness for her.
yeah,
Like I said, she's uh, actress, famous, rich, and everything, but she
yeah,
just didn't know what the hell to do at that point with all these doctors. And I think she even mentions in the movie like all these doctors, they can't even do anything. they
Yeah.
can't even help her daughter, and you can
Yeah.
totally sense that desperation. But yeah, the main thing was kind of like, oh, I wonder how many movies actually talked about like mental health and
Yeah.
behaviors like that in the past. I mean, I wouldn't know, but I was just curious about that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely thought about that too. Did you think that as well, Alex?
Well, talking about mental health, like I can't think of many movies of that time that brought that subject up like this. Like,
Right.
like you can say one flew over the cuckoo's nest, but it's not even about that. It's more about a guy who's hiding himself in
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, this. Sorry,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Fizzy.
No.
Sorry.
No. Go ahead. Finish your thought. Yeah. What are your
Like
thoughts about this whole
this
process in general?
for me, this is one of the most disturbing moments in the whole movie. Like the whole medical thing, it's very, very scary. Like the sound of the machines,
Yeah.
like
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
all that stuff. Like it's very disturbing. It's
the dope.
very like you feel like that I had cancer a couple of years ago, and just going through those machines like every couple months for them to check you
Yeah.
and that sound, like that's how you feel. Like now that I went through those kind of things, it's horrible because it is like that. Like you feel overwhelmed by the sound, you feel overwhelmed
Yeah.
by, like, you don't know what's going on, and they did a fantastic job, and you see it from both perspectives. The
Hmm.
daughter who has no idea of what's going on, and the mom who's like, it's beyond my power to save her, and there's no one here who can do anything for her. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
No. Yeah. I definitely agree. And then again, a testament to Linda Blair's acting. Man, I felt really bad for what you were saying, Alex. Is just it was, you can see how she was reacting in pain to some of these
yeah,
procedures. And from what I was reading, this procedure here on the left is painful. That's one of the side effects. Is there's vomiting, and there's there's really painful, and they don't do this procedure anymore, from what I understand. If this is the same
I
one here
hope
on the
not.
left, upper left, yeah, just because of they have better techniques now for like
Yeah,
neuroimaging. I think that was the reason why they did that.
that looks
And
like torture.
yeah.
yeah, it was like, yeah, and that was another thing I kind of that was interesting, was that this movie, not only is this movie a product of the time, but it also shows you how medicine and procedures have evolved, right? And just how we came up through diagnosing, how doctors diagnose certain things now. And not that I'm a doctor, but we obviously don't see this type of procedures. At least I don't. And some of the things they're suggesting is not really common. It's funny too. There was a scene where a doctor comes out to talk to Chris, and I think he had just looked at the results for this one of these X-rays, and he just pulls out a cigarette and he's there smoking in the hallway in front
Yeah,
of her. Yeah,
Oh
like
yeah,
that would never happen today.
yeah, yeah,
in
exactly.
the
It would
in the
never.
hospital, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, right in the hospital. Yeah, it was just
like I
funny.
remember watching Mad Men a couple years ago,
Yeah,
and they're waiting for. They're in the. He's about to have a kid. I don't remember what the scene was, but
yeah,
he, like, the main character is smoking in the hospital and having a drink. I'm like, that wouldn't happen
yeah,
today. Like that's something
yeah,
that, like,
yeah. It was definitely funny. I kind of just laughed when I saw that.
yeah,
There's
it's like, yeah,
unintentional humor here, yeah. But it's just funny how now, like I said, it's just we can kind of see how we or our medical science, our medical field has evolved
yeah,
since then, and just the things that they thought back then, and but there's still certain things that we don't know, and then it kind of just shows again again to how well this was written. It goes through a process, right? They didn't know what was going on, so they have to start with something, and they think of all the symptoms she's having or how she's acting. I'm like, okay, it could be this, it could be this. So they go through this whole process, and it's like, what else are you to think, right? As a doctor, you kind of have to go through this process, but at the same time, you're like, in her case, as Chris, as a parent, she's like, I don't know, are you sure? That doesn't sound right. Is that going to help her? And it's kind of, they're trying to figure out what's going on, and it's just not knowing what to do. So it's, starting from all these things, and she's going through that tough decision of, well, this is hurting my daughter. These procedures are putting her in pain, but it should be for the betterment. And that's depicted really well between both the daughter and Chris. So I
yeah.
thought that was
Yep.
really good.
Yep.
So then, yeah, like I said, oh, sorry. One thing I was going to mention real quick here on this before I go into the next slide. Another thing that was funny, again, unintentional humor. I don't think it was meant to be funny, but it's just, again, the dialogue for the time is, one of the doctors. I think it was the same doctor that pulled out a cigarette in another scene or not. But he asked her if she has any drugs in the house, and she's like, "No,
Yeah.
of course I don't have any drugs." And
Yeah.
she's like, "I don't even smoke grass, for Christ's
Yeah.
sake." Yeah, I thought that was funny. It just made me laugh. She's like, again,
Yeah.
lingo of the times. So yeah, so the doctors recommend an exorcism, and that's where she goes to Father Karras, and her and him finally meet. They connect because they recommend they suggested an exorcism, and she gets in contact with him somehow. I don't know if they were referred to him directly, but he is actually a psychiatrist and a priest. So he was a priest first, and then they sent him to medical school. So he's a Jesuit, right? So there's like the Jesuit, what do you call that? The church there in Georgetown, and he's a part of that, right? That community. I don't know if I'm getting that terminology right. I know he's a Jesuit, but I don't know if it's called is that
I
a
think
church?
it's like, yeah, I think it's like that. Yeah.
Or the temple. I'm not sure. I can't remember what they call it, but yeah. So he's based out of there, and so real quick, the scene before this, she has her glasses on because she has a bruise on her cheek, and that was from Regan. So she had an instance. She heard her daughter screaming. She goes up, and that's where, again, probably another infamous scene where Regan is stabbing herself, in her groin area with the crucifix, and she grabs her mom, and she's telling her stuff that I won't repeat here. But yeah, again, it's really graphic and obscene. But again, I think that's part of the shock factor. Right? That was meant to kind of just, wow, this is coming from a girl, and and then she slaps her across the face, and she ends up getting this bruise. And another tidbit on that scene, specifically trivia that I learned, was that there's a scene where after Regan slaps her mom and Chris goes flying across the room, she screams in pain as she lands. And that scream was actually authentic. That was a real scream, because what had happened was that she had a harness on her, and the wire guys were, to pull her to kind of make it seem like Regan hit her hard. But when they did that, they pulled too hard, and it ended up injuring her spine. And so when she landed, she screamed in like agonizing pain. And so that was real. And as a result of that, she ended up getting a permanent spine injury from that. And so Friedkin, of course, left that in there, and because it was just so authentic. But I thought that was really, messed up and
Yeah.
That's
surprising.
very
Did you
messed
guys hear
up.
about that? Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was crazy. Similarly, there was you remember that scene where Regan was kind of, I think it was definitely before this, but she was kind of going up and down on her bed. She was like, "Make it stop, make it stop," right? So she was on a contraption that had her do that. Well, apparently that had come loose, something had failed on that, and it wasn't secure, and that ended up fracturing her spine as well. So she suffered a spine injury from that also. And so both of them suffered spine injuries on this during the filming of this movie.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was no rules in place. There was no, they're very loose, very lenient, just strap on whatever. And, I'm sure obviously things have changed since then. For the
Indie
safety of the
filmmaking.
actors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Early filmmaking. That just shows you it was just anything flew those days, just strap this on you.
Smoke
Is
on
it safe?
set, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I'm sure it's safe. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. It was just crazy. Yeah. But I thought that was, really
That's
nice.
very interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. Again, until just reading recently. So
I know some crazy stuff about the movie, but that I didn't know.
yeah, were you aware of that,
That's-
Gio?
Yeah. Oh, so,
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So that was anytime you guys, if we come up to a scene or if we pass and then there's of any trivia tidbits like that, let me know. I have a couple more coming up. We'll keep going. Just let me know. So yeah, another funny thing here, probably unintentional, here on the left, she's asking him about what is it, confidentiality? If someone tells you they're a criminal, do you have to turn them in? And he was saying, well, it kind of depends on the situation. And then so she's just talking to him. She's like, yeah, have you done this before? Or we're asking about him, like, What do you do? And then right after she asks that, all of a sudden she just turns around, and's like, "So, have you performed any exorcisms, or do you know how to go about getting an exorcism?" And then he just stops. He's like, "Excuse me," or he's like, "Pardon." And that's where this shot is here on the left. She's just, she just casually throws that in there right after
Yeah.
the the previous question. And he's like, "What?" So I thought that was kind of funny, just his reaction and how she brought that up. And so yeah, and then they go on discussing that, and she's inquiring more about it. And to my surprise, he was saying that that's not really common. That's not a rare thing. Like, it would have to go. There's a process for that. They have to get approved by the church, and even then, the previous one hadn't been done for for years. I don't think that he wasn't aware of Father Marin's exorcism, and so he was just going off of what he was aware of. Like, that hadn't been done for, like, I think decades or centuries, and it was just it rarely comes up. And again, he's a psychiatrist, so has more of like a mental,
Irrational.
yeah, a more rational perspective on that. So I thought that was really interesting how they included that. And even a priest here is just like, exorcism, that's not normal. Like, those aren't really, that's not even a thing. And so I thought that was kind of, what did you think about that, Alex, about this whole discussion and them discussing that?
I love this whole part. Like I love his like I love Jason Miller in this movie. Like he's so good. And the whole idea, like I was saying in the beginning, like you have the Father Merrin who is super faithful and believes in God and everything, but this is a lost man. Like
Yeah.
he's completely in the middle at the moment. Like he doesn't know if he believes in the church anymore. He
Yeah.
feels lost with his relationship with his mother. Like he doesn't know how to how to deal with her. Like he feels like
Hmm.
he's a failure, and it's really cool to see a priest feeling that way because you always see priests portraying a way of like pureness and
Yeah.
good, and they don't have negative thoughts. And
Right.
it's kind of cool to see a man that's really questioning his faith and who is about to be challenged.
Yeah, it makes for a good, interesting character for sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Gio? What were your thoughts on this scene overall and just their discussions?
I think that was. I'm pretty sure that was the first time that I ever saw anything or heard anything about exorcism being like a whole like process and it has to be approved by the church. Like it wasn't just like, I need an exorcism and you
Yeah.
get it done. I think that I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that was the first time that I ever saw that because I don't think there was any exorcism movies before this one. So
Hmm.
um,
You're right.
yeah, it's a cool scene. It's an interesting scene, with the character, the conflict that he has, and all that stuff. And then later on, what happens later on, it kind of redeems him, towards the end there.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you talking about the scene with his mother, or what happens with his mother?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Another thing that was interesting, that you guys already touched on, was that, again, being a psychiatrist and a priest, you have the kind of that clashing and that mix, which I always find interesting, right? You have like the science aspect mixed with the spiritual
Faith.
aspect,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and faith. And I always find that interesting whenever there's like a two that clash. And in particular, because of that, one show that I really liked was, you guys have you seen that show Evil?
No.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, so I believe there's two, maybe three seasons. I can't remember. It's been a while. The first season I really liked. The second one it wasn't as good. But Evil, yeah, it follows that same premise where you have a team. So there's I forgot what she is. So she's sort of like a mental health I don't know if she's a psychiatrist or a psychologist that works. Yeah, I'm forgetting now. I think she's a police officer, but she specializes in mental health, right? Diagnosing criminals or just to see if there's anything wrong with them, like mentally or just any mental disorders or anything. But she ends up teaming up with an actual a religious figure. I can't remember if he's a priest or a father, but anyway, so you have that aspect, that spiritualistic faith aspect, and then her coming from like the science medical
Science.
background, and they're working together to solve these murders of things that are going on. So she's coming at it from that angle, and he's coming at it from the spiritual angle, and it's really cool. Sometimes some of the things that they come up with, it can be either or. Right? There's some things that they can't explain, but there's some things that she's like, okay, well, this is going on because of this, and they bring a scientific aspect to it, and it's really cool. But in here, he's kind of playing both roles in this movie, and I really like that. So he approaches this whole exorcism first as a psychiatrist, right? He's like, okay, well, like you mentioned, Alex, rational, right? He's trying to be rational, and like he's like, what makes sense here? What is the logical reason this is going on? And so he approaches it from that aspect, even though he's also primarily a priest. So I really like that in his character, and again, that adds to his depth. And it was it's really cool. Yeah, I thought. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen that show, I suggest that also.
I'll
If you
check it
find that
out.
interesting. Evil, Evil.
Just check
Is
it
that
out.
one on? Is that on Paramount? Paramount Plus?
Um, I think it is on Paramount. I saw it on Amazon, but it may have been through the. You know
Oh,
how Amazon has those channels, like you have Amazon, but
Yeah.
then you also like
right.
subscribe to it. So I think I saw it through Amazon, and I think you're right. It might be on Paramount Plus. But yeah, it's a good show if you're if you're into that type of those type of topics or those themes. There, it's really interesting. All right, so going on here, yeah, she ends up breaking down because she has no one else to turn to. She's saying, the doctors are telling me, I've been to all these psychiatrists. The doctors are telling me to go to you, and now you're telling me to go to
To
somebody
them.
else. And yeah, she's just getting frustrated and upset, and which again, as any normal parent would who's worried for their daughter, she just wants help, and she just breaks down. She's crying, and she's
Eh,
like starting to feel
I
helpless.
think he tells her like I can see her as a psychiatrist, not as a priest.
Oh, is that what he said? Yeah, I think I missed
Yeah,
that part.
I think he does. And
Okay.
she's like, no, but she needs a priest.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotcha. And so yeah, he's again coming to it as a psychiatrist first, right? Yeah. So yeah,
I hate her face, man. Like to this day, like she freaks me out so bad. Like I can't. Yeah.
yeah. You gotta cover your screen
I
like
like
this.
I swear, man. Like every time I when we see her face in a close up when Marion is about to arrive to the house,
Yeah.
I can't look at that. Like it really freaks me out.
Oh, so you're
Yeah.
saying you want me to change the slide here?
No, it's cool. It's cool. Leave it.
Yeah.
I need to. Yeah. Yeah. I'm focusing my eyes on the vomit.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So I'll try not to stay on this too long, but
It's okay. It's okay.
yeah, I figured I have to have at least one picture of her and how she is, right? This is so up in, like I mentioned, it's a slow build up to this point. This is where Father Karras finally goes and sees Regan. He goes in the room, and this is what he sees her like this, and this is the first time we see her in this, in her appearance this way. Up until this point, I think she had started to get like chapped lips, like slight scratches,
Yeah.
and it was starting to get there, but here is the first time people recognize her for how she is in like all images. When they think of The Exorcist, they think of her like this, and this is about about 3/4 of the way ish into the movie, in the never before seen version, anyways, not the original theatrical version. So yeah, he goes into there and he sees her and he's like, what the heck? And he starts talking to her again, approaching it as a psychiatrist, and he's talking to her, asking her some questions. And Gio, you mentioned the thing with her mother, with Father Karras's mother. So before this happened, right, his mother had just passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he went to go visit her, and she was already admitted in a hospital, I think, and is that where she ends up passing away, in the hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the yeah,
Wait,
hospice.
I believe it was right because she didn't want to go there, right? And then
Yeah.
he ended up having to send her there, and he felt kind of guilty about it.
Yeah. Because and she dies there. It's a What do you call that? Hospice.
Hospice hospital or some sort of hospital, right?
Yeah.
Because there are
Yeah.
other.
It's
There
not.
was like
It's a specific name, but I don't remember where it is. Like,
okay, yeah,
it's like where you take. It's not an asylum. It's
Yeah, I think it is that. I think the what you mentioned, hospice. I have
hospice home, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that too, but I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Why,
Yeah.
Demi? Why?
Yeah, Demi. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, and his first name is Damien, so his mom calls him Demi. Demi, I guess, and they're
And they are Greek. Greek.
yeah. I
Catholic.
think they're Greek. Yeah, you think you're right. So his first name is Damien, and last name's Karras. So she had just passed away, and he was already feeling. He started, that was affecting him, and now he's comes in and he's has this girl that he's seeing now. That he agreed to see and talk to, and Regan, or now Pazuzu, right, the demon, anyways, brings his mother up, and he says that your mother is here with us, Karis. And then he asked Regan, like, well, if that's true, what's her last name? You know, you should know her last name. And he asked her what her last name was, and so he goes in closer to get her last name, and then, you know, again, another famous scene, all the pea soup all over the place, all over him. You see her on the face, and not just any pea soup, mind you. This is Anderson's pea soup, not Campbell's, and that's actually true. You know, I looked it up.
Yeah.
I read that they didn't like the way Campbell's looked, so they switched to Anderson's.
Oh,
Anyone uses Anderson's pea soup. So I just thought that was fun. But yeah, we all know this was pea soup. You know, green. It was all green. One thing I didn't know though was that the faux vomit shoots out of a hose, and it was intended to be shot at Jason Miller's chest. But something happened. There was a mishap or the misalignment, quote unquote, and it ended up shooting at his face.
oh,
Yeah, I think Friedkin did it on purpose.
Yeah, that's what some people were
Probably
saying.
did.
Like, yeah,
and they would just do like little things like that throughout the filming and stuff. So
yeah. And so this reaction here is a genuine reaction, and he was like actually, I think, frustrated and upset that happened. So this was like a genuine reaction, and they kept that in there, of course. And yeah, I just thought that was, again, kind of interesting, funny tidbit there. But yeah, like you guys mentioned, again, going back to Friedkin's extreme tactics that I mentioned in the beginning, there were reports that he was slapping actors to get them, you know, to elicit a certain feeling, to get them ready for their scene. Apparently, he also fired a gun next to, I believe it was Jason Miller's head, to kind of get another genuine reaction.
Yeah.
And, you know, when he did that, Jason Miller, obviously, he was upset. He was like, what the hell? Why'd you do that? And he's like, you know, Friedkin, I'm paraphrasing here. Friedkin was like, well, I wanted to make it genuine. And then Miller looked at him and told him, I'm an actor. You don't need to do that. I can just tell me what you want. And
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny. Did you, were you guys aware of those, like his extreme tactics, of Friedkin's tactics, or have you ever heard about those?
yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah,
Yeah, the one from the gun is legendary.
yeah.
Yeah. Again, I didn't
Oh, the
realize that
reaction.
until, yeah, I didn't realize that until, again, prepping for this. And so I can kind of see, you know, although it was never confirmed, I can kind of see him being the one to mess with the hoses beforehand and point it more at his face and leaving it in, even though obviously he's not going to admit that. But other people were saying that too. It was like, okay, I can see that now. I just thought, I was like, damn, that guy's just willing to pull out all the stops there.
Yeah, like even if you're an actor, like nothing beats
Right.
reality.
That organic reaction.
Yeah, like getting that reaction.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's what you strive for, right? To get, you're right. You can't, acting can only take you so far, but you need that genuine, organic reaction for that.
Yeah.
But Gio, what was your first thought when you saw this? When you saw this movie the first time, and you saw, you know, Karis goes in the room, and this is what you see. What were your thoughts on this whole scene and just the vomit and just all that, or and also like whatever had happened previous to this that we skipped over?
Yeah, it was just a very creepy scene. You know, it's so we get more of a. I think that's where we see more of Reagan like this, right?
Yeah.
Where he has this look, and I mean
Yeah,
the voice
after
has
this,
been the voice has been coming in and out at that point, but
Oh,
yeah, I think that's the first long scene that we actually see her like this, and then that was
Yeah.
you know, frightening, that was scary. So, and very iconic, you know, with the whole, you know, pea soup or whatever. So I mean, it's just a great scene overall, and like I said, very very scary because of her look here.
Yeah.
Yep.
The way she
Yeah.
talks.
What about you, Alex? What about and what were your
Friend,
thoughts when
it scares me to this day.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter how many times I've seen this movie, it still
Yeah.
gets me. And I think the older I get, the worse it gets, because I don't know, it feels real.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like these new horror movies that sometimes you're like, man, that's so stupid. This is like, man, the way the demon talks to Karis, like, I know about your mother. Like, it's
Yeah.
so calm. It's not trying to do like it's not over the top. It's just like standing there, relaxed. It's very creepy. It's
Yeah.
very, 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 very creepy.
It is.
It
Yeah.
is, and you can see like both, like not even talking about actors, like talking about us not analyzing the movie, just the scene. It feels like both persons are really feeling that, like they're going through that. That is so powerful. Like
Yeah.
it's 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 unbelievable how real it feels.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you're right, and I definitely feel that. And you can feel one thing you touched on that I was also going to mention was that they go in there and they look cold, and you can see there's moments where Regan's breathing
Oh, yeah.
as she's possessed, and you can see the her breath. You can see the steam,
Yeah.
right, the mist. And another thing I learned about that was that Friedkin had air conditioning units installed in
Yeah.
that set of that room to drop the temperature down to below freezing, and to the
Yeah.
point where there were some instances where there was moisture in the room and it was so cold that it looked like it was snowing inside. There was
Yeah.
actually like icicles forming, and so everyone in that room, was acting in that environment when this, below freezing room, and and it paid off because it worked. Or you can feel it. You can actually feel, obviously not literally, but you can get that sensation of being
Yeah.
cold and that chill
Yeah, it
throughout
feels
this.
real. Like you
Yeah, it
can't tell
does.
that they're cold. It's not like it's like in Titanic that James Cameron had the water to be colder for when Jack and Rose were in the water,
Oh, right.
so it felt
Yeah.
real. It wasn't freezing, but it was like you need that. You need them to actually, show the cold and
The
acting.
emotions.
Like
Yeah.
we were saying, like acting can only get you so far.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought one of the reasons the budget went up higher than initially planned was because of those AC units. I think one of them had broken down and they had to do repairs on it. So,
Wow.
yeah. And yeah, it's just crazy how the lengths that Friedkin went. You know, Kind of questionable tactics and techniques towards his actors and actresses, which I don't agree with, but it definitely added to the overall effect and the feeling of the movie.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
really wanted those organic reactions and like
Yeah.
Yeah.
as much as
It's
he could.
like it's like Stanley Kubrick with I forgot the name of the actress in The Shining.
Oh, in The Shining, yeah.
Yeah,
Shelley
like
Duvall.
yeah, she was treating that poor woman like crap.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, like there are
Yeah.
some behind the scenes on YouTube. I'm gonna send them to you. Like he
Okay.
yells at her, like it's so bad, man.
Wow.
Like that poor woman, like she wasn't having a good time.
Man. Yeah. Another instance of a time, so right, where females weren't really treated with respectfully in film in media.
But Stanley Kubrick didn't treat anyone with respect.
Yeah.
No, female, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like he was like I care about my movie, I don't care about people.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, there was so yeah, I kind of pulled away from the scene just to save you and other. I'm sure there are others who felt the same way, Alex. So I kind of just switched the
Thank
slides
you.
here.
It's very disturbing.
Yeah, no, and that means it worked, right? I mean, they did a good job with the makeup, and even Linda Blair. There was accounts where I think the mask, the prosthetic they used, when she turned her head around 360
Yeah.
degrees or 180 to look at her mom, they were doing that prosthetic, and she had to be like next to it, I guess, while they did the replication to do the replica of it, and yeah, she said the same thing, that it just like creeped her out. And so but I mean, that was the point, right, to get
Yeah.
to bother you, and they did a good job. So
Yeah.
yeah.
50 years later. Like I know
Yeah.
there's people who say that it's not as good as I think it is, but
Hmm.
they're
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. No, it's good. Yeah,
Just
it's
straight up.
still creepy. Yeah, it's still creepy. So real
Yeah.
quick, yeah, so any other thoughts on this, Gio, on this, just for this whole thing? I know you already went, but just any other thoughts, or no?
Just this particular this is kind of like the third act there. So just overall, or just the specific scene that you.
No, just kind of touching back on this again. Was there anything else you wanted to add to that, or no?
No, no, no. I think I
Okay,
said
about the
it.
vomit scene and just the
Yeah.
introduction. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, then famous scene again. Father Merrin finally arrives. He comes in and he finally meets up with the other two characters, Father Karras and Chris, and this iconic. I think this is the most iconic scene for this movie here. Obviously, it's on the cover of the movie and the posters, and apparently this was based on a painting. I think the painting was like Empire of Light or Lighting or something like that, or it was that painting inspired this whole shot. I haven't looked that up yet, so I'm not sure what that actually looks like, but that's just what I had read.
Yeah, I think I
But
heard about.
so Father Merrin comes in, talks to Father Karras, and gives him a breakdown of what's going on. They go in the room, and then we have this showdown where they meet again. I have that shot in the beginning of the slides where Merrin and the statue were facing down, and then I kind of saw this as them being like that showdown again here, where he walks in the room and they're both looking at each other. And it's interesting. I read some theories that one of the reasons why Pazuzu chose, quote unquote, chose Regan was because he was trying to track down Father Merrin, and for some reason, Regan was not the closest, but was kind of in the area for where Father Merrin was. I think Father Merrin during this time was in what was it? It was like Woodstock College or something like that. I think that's located in Maryland or somewhere around there. And that's when they had sent for him. When the other priests that Father Karras was talking to, they're like, "Hey, how about Father Merrin? I think he has some experience in this." And so they went to call for him, request him, and so that's where he was, and he came in, and now they have this showdown. So I don't know. What did you guys think? Did you guys kind of see this as their stand down again from the beginning, just to kind of come back like a foreshadow that happened there, and now they're meeting up again? Or what was your thought on that, Alex?
I do think that it's like Obi-Wan and Vader.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. What
Yeah,
about you? What about you, Gio?
Yeah, yeah. I got that from just like the opening scene, and they're showing
Yeah,
the demon with the statue, and then like I said, the emblem of the demon itself, and then we
yeah,
find out that it is Pazuzu. So yeah, it's definitely kind of like a rematch, kind of in a way.
yeah,
yeah. So like they had their intro, the introduction in the beginning. They are like standing off for whatever reason. The demon had some interest in Father Merrin. They didn't really touch on what that was. It just was attracted to him for something, maybe because he was just a pure heart or whatever. He wanted to test him. Or,
Mm.
prior to this, they were, no, actually a little bit after this scene, after they had this initial encounter, Father Merrin's encounter with Regan, they do the first procedure of the exorcism. They go out to the stairs, and let me see. I wonder if I got that? I don't think I added that slide in here, but yeah. So they're talking on the stairs after their initial approach and their initial rituals, and Father Karras asked the same question. He was like, "Why Regan? Why did he choose her?" And then Father Merrin's response was something along the lines of, just to make us question our faith in God, basically, like in
yeah.
possessing a kid, a child of innocence, and doing all these unspeakable things, making her do all these unspeakable things and acting a certain way. And to what you guys were touching on, to what you were touching on earlier, Alex, about Father Karras in this situation, he was, questioning his faith. He was kind of going, he had, he was drinking. There was times where he would just get drunk,
Yeah.
mostly because he had learned his mother passed away. So he felt really bad. He felt guilty. And then he was drinking. That happened earlier on in the movie. And so, yeah, he was just really questioning his faith at this time. But yeah, it was just this interesting kind of concept again about the same questions I had. I'm like, okay, why this girl? Which I'm still not totally set on. I don't know, other than just why her specifically, because it worked for the movie. But that's just like you touched on earlier, Alex. Just leave it to interpretation. Let the audience decide
Yeah.
why. It's not
Yeah,
explained. They don't touch it on it exactly. But whatever you think is the reason why. Leave it
it's
up to you.
whatever you pick up during the
Yeah,
movie.
like if you ask to
Yeah.
someone who's super religious, they're gonna tell you, "Oh, it's because they didn't believe in God."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that can't be, because then it's like, again, like you can't just point out at people because they don't share your religion. It's just
Yeah.
it goes beyond that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that it's because at that moment these two women are really vulnerable. They just come through a process of change. Like, their husband left her, she's without a father, like she are, like, I don't know, they're in a really vulnerable state at the moment. So it's like super easy for a demon to go and dwell on you, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's more something like that. Like, a demon will go and attach to your back when you feel more.
When you're low, kick you when you're down.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of that's like the concept that's been used in other movies, right? I'm thinking specifically in The Conjuring, right, where the Warrens go through the process of an exorcism, right? The spirit, quote unquote, breaks you down into you're feeling like mentally breaks you down into at your weakest point, and then it
Yeah.
takes over. Yeah. So similar again. Maybe that was an influence for that movie. Maybe this Exorcist was an influence.
And if
for,
you think about it, like, it's kind of like Marin tells that to Karas when they meet. Like, he's telling Marion, like, oh, so far the demon has shown 2 or 3 personalities, and Marion tells him
Oh yeah.
there's only one,
One, yeah.
and you have to don't listen to him. The demon only lies, and he's gonna do anything in his power to convince you of whatever he wants you to think. And
yeah.
it's just that, like, the devil knows how to scare you, how to make you feel confused, how to make you feel vulnerable. And that's its power. So it's
Yeah.
kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Disturbing.
Yeah, it is disturbing. What were your thoughts on that, on Gio, and just the reasoning why, chose Regan, or just that whole concept?
I think it's kind of like what you guys mentioned. I think it's just innocence, young girl, and I do think it has something to do with kind of like to lure Father Marin
Marin?
in there, and like I said, do that quote unquote rematch or whatever the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
show
think they
it.
need,
Round 2.
it's a young little girl, innocent girl, and that would definitely turn some heads, no pun intended. And then that's how we
Nice.
got to this.
Yeah, speaking of the vulgarities that she was saying in this movie, which, to this day, when I saw it in theaters, I was just kind of like, oh man, like I was kind of taken aback, like I was kind of disturbed by what she was doing, like, and what she was saying. I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the stream that, it's a lot of the stuff that happens is kind of has like sexual references or association, and yeah, it just, again, having a daughter myself, it's just like, oh man, it just hits me different. I was just like, oh damn.
Yeah.
It was really, really disturbing, but again, I think that was the point, right, to kind of that shock value.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so going on here with this, so Father Marin, they do the thing, and he's not in the best health. They show him in the beginning, and then here when he's exercising Regan, he has, I think they're pills. I believe they're
Heart
nitro
pills.
Heart pills. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get. I think it was something. Is that what they would be with a nitro?
I don't know
Whatever.
what it is, but I just remember that they mentioned that an exorcism almost killed Father Marin
Yeah. Well, so
the previous time. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. The previous time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see his health is really failing, and he's kind of towards the end there. Another thing I forgot to mention is they actually made him look older than he did in
Yeah.
the movie.
Oh, yeah.
So apparently when they filmed, he was like in his 40s,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
44.
But they
And
made
he
him
looked like what he did before he died, like the way he looked before he died.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Like
Like in Force
like
Awakens.
yeah, you can look at him in 2015 and he looks just like in 1970.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makeup was really good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Who was the makeup artist? Dick Smith, or who was it? I don't remember.
I'm not sure actually,
Yeah,
but
I
that
can't.
makes-
I didn't
and
look
I don't
that
even
up.
know if the Academy had a category for makeup, but I know they didn't get. There was no nomination for best makeup. There may not have been a category. I'm not entirely sure, but definitely should have been nominated for that too.
Yes.
That's
Who
true.
was
Yeah.
it? I think it was someone very, very important, but I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, there
Sticks
was.
me.
Oh man, I
Let
should
me
have
look
wrote
it
that.
up.
I think there was a tidbit on that too on the makeup artist. But I can't remember. Yeah, let me know in the
I'm
comments.
gonna look that up right now
Yeah, if you there
because
was.
I think it was someone like very, very, very important at the time.
Gotcha.
I can't.
Um, well, yeah. While Alex is looking that up, going back to the vulgar obscenity things that Regan was saying, there was, I guess, there was a scene where she had said something. I didn't catch which scene specifically, but she said something, one like really vulgar, and he was just also taken. He was like really shocked, and it really bothered him, and he ended up forgetting his lines for that scene, and so he just was like speechless, and so they had to do it again, and it's just, yeah, like I said, it's crazy. Another thing that I learned that Regan, she there was what, like, I don't know, hundreds of auditions for this role of Regan, and they all had these agencies that were putting up their representing their actors or the actresses, their clients, basically, right? All these what do they call them, like agents, like putting them up for the role. But Linda Blair's mom just brought her in on a whim, right? She was like, she thought I guess she saw the role and wanted her daughter to audition for it, and yeah, brought her in on her own, just no appointment. Right? I think it was like no appointment. I forgot what, but it was just on her own account, and she auditioned, and she had to read some vulgar lines, and she just apparently read them with no problem. She did the role, or she said the lines in the audition, and Friedkin liked her and offered her the role. Yeah, and then someone
Apparently,
asked her.
apparently, Linda Blair had read the book. She told
Oh,
the
okay.
director that she's read the book already, and and then he kind of like quizzes her, like, well, what's this book about, or things like that, and then he just kind of tells him like a little summary, like, oh, it's
Yeah,
about this little girl that gets possessed, it's a demon, and he has her do all these weird, crazy things, and then he asks her, so what are some of the things that you had to do, and or what is some of the things that the demon had the little girl do,
yeah,
and then he like she tells him like, well, at one point he like masturbates with a crucifix, so it's like, oh, okay,
yeah.
so yeah, so she read the book, so and that
Wow.
kind of like pushed him to cast her.
Oh wow, yeah, I didn't read that part. Interesting. Wow, so she actually read the book. Is that what you
So
were gonna
the
say,
Yeah.
makeup
Alex?
artist was Dick Smith. Yeah.
And
Dick
refresh my
Smith
memory.
is one of the most important makeup artists in the film
Oh,
industry.
okay.
Yeah, he was like the teacher of Rick Baker, and he
Oh,
did a
really? Oh,
lot
okay.
of crazy stuff. Yeah, yeah, he was a genius. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Thanks
So
for
yeah,
clearing that up.
that's why like that makeup looks the way it
That
does.
it
Like,
does. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, it was, yeah, really good. Really good job overall on the effects. Um, so yeah, I forgot what else I was gonna mention. But yeah, so going on here, Father Marin, he's, like I mentioned, he's really sick. So his health is really poor. Um, there's a scene where, yeah, he goes in the bathroom, takes his pill, and while he's doing that, Father Karras is in there by himself with Regan, and again, Regan's still taunting him with the fact that his mother died, and that's where why Demi, right? Is that what she says? Is taunting him basically, and he's just starting. It starts to get to him. Right? He starts getting frustrated. Father Marin comes in, he sees this, and asks him to leave, and so now he's fighting or exercising Regan by himself. Father Karras is doing his thing. He comes back in, and then he sees Father Marin is dead on the side of the bed, and Regan, or the demon, is loose. She had, for some reason, her straps were undone, and she's just on the corner of the bed. And it was kind of weird because at first, I didn't put that scene in here, but at first, she was just kind of stoic. There's no expression, and then Father Karras is tending to Marin, and then it was only after a few seconds where
she starts laughing.
yeah, starts laughing. And so I don't know, what did you guys think about that? Alex, what was your take on that? Like, why do you think it was just kind of like a just stoic expression initially?
I think it's like the arrogance, like there's no empathy towards the dead person in the shot. Like, it's just like, I killed him, whatever. He's just a peasant, whatever.
Mm,
And the moment she's seeing that like that Karis is actually suffering. It's like
Yeah.
it's mocking him. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I made you suffer. I killed him.
I
I
see.
won. I think it's that. Like, I already took Regan, and I already took this stupid father's life. So
Yeah. Is it you thought the same way, Gio?
Yeah, it's just like full representation of evil.
Yeah.
Even on top of all the other stuff that we've seen.
Yeah.
yeah,
But I think that was
Yeah.
probably like the most disturbing that that he threw the demon obviously,
yeah.
starts laughing after what just happened, and it was kind of like a victory uh, gesture, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So the laugh I understood, but I guess what threw me off is that she didn't laugh right away, or the demon didn't laugh right away. It was like I said, it was kind of like just a stoic, just staring. It kind of looked like like a confused, like dumbfounded, or like what the hell type of look. And then she starts. So I don't know. I just was expecting the laugh sooner, so I don't know if it was. Yeah, it was just interesting. I can't really. I don't know where my thoughts are on that. Like I can't figure that part out. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. After you watch this stream on the rewind, what you thought about that and how you interpreted that. It was just interesting.
I
On
think
that
it's
part.
like indifference. Honestly, it's just like
Like now
I
what?
think there's nothing more evil for me than not feeling anything when you have
I
taken
see.
someone's life, or and she's just acting like that. Like, there's nothing in her eyes, no emotion, nothing.
Hmm. Yeah.
But the moment she witnesses suffering, it's like that gives her
Oh, I
life.
see.
She laughs, and
I see. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, with suffering and Father Karras, how he was
yeah,
acting.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe that could have been it. And yeah, again, leaving it to interpretation. Like, how
yeah.
did she get free? One of the things that I didn't touch on earlier was Father Karras asked her when he first meets Regan was, you know, she's Regan or the demon says I'm the devil, and Father Karras is like, well, if that's true, why don't you just unfasten, like loosen your take off the straps yourself, remove the straps yourself? And then she was saying, well, that's just too vulgar of a gesture of power. Basically, like it's just too easy. Basically, is what she made it seem like. Like why would I do that when this is something more. Doing it this way is just more powerful. It shows how powerful I am, type of thing. More like a ego. It seemed like an egotistical thing. So then, when Father Marin passes, when he dies, when the next they show him and he's dead and she's free. It was like, okay, well, what happened there? So again, leave it for interpretation. That was never addressed, but that's something else I thought it was interesting on there. Do you guys have thoughts on that, on how she got free?
I think like she killed him. I don't know how,
Yeah,
but she
yeah,
killed him.
yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, something happened there. So let me know your
Maybe it's
thoughts
in the
down in the
book.
comments.
Maybe it's in the book, and we
Oh
don't know.
yeah, that
But
I'll never read. Yeah,
let's read the last 30 pages. Let's see
yeah,
what
I know,
happens.
right? That's actually, yeah, I don't mind doing that. Actually, I'll probably do
Like,
that.
I don't think I want to read it right now because I'm getting scared.
Yeah. So well, yeah, this probably isn't
I
helping then either. Yeah.
You have no idea. Like, my wife always laughs at me because I'm always watching horror movies and I'm always scared.
Yeah.
Like, why do you watch them if they make you feel so scared? It's like, I don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way. It's kind of like the thrill, right? It's kind of like a roller coaster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I see it. It's just, the excitement, the adrenaline, the emotion that it elicits, right? I mean, like, why do people get on roller coasters? Right? It just
Yeah.
elicits a similar emotion from you. So it's just
The adrenaline, the fear.
then
Oh,
that same scene when Father Marin is dead
we
and
lost
Father
him.
Karras.
oh,
Uh
he's
oh.
back. We
Oh,
lost him for like a couple seconds, but you're back.
We lost the host.
oh, did I
We
my
took
video cut
over
out or my
the
audio
channel.
or both?
I think it was like all of it. Like it just
Oh crap. Okay.
went out for like 2 seconds.
Oh,
You're back.
okay. If that happens again, just let me know and just talk amongst yourselves,
Reach
and I'll
or
see
response.
what happens. But all right, so yeah, this is final slide here. So we're getting there. Yeah, final slide. So yes, hang in there, folks. We're almost done. Thank you for bearing with us for this long, especially my guests here. Thank you for staying this. I had no idea it was going to go this long. To tell you the truth, wow, a lot of discussion. Good talk though. It was good
Yeah.
discussion.
Oh, this got frozen.
Uh-oh. What's frozen?
I couldn't see you guys. Like this thing, like I couldn't
Oh,
see
really?
you. Yeah.
You can see
Are
us
we
now
good
and
now, though?
here.
Yeah, I can see you guys. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. It was weird.
Gotcha. All right. Oh, that's
Maybe
probably
it's
the internet telling us
YouTube.
to wrap it up here. Yeah, the stream. Yeah. So real quick, yeah. So Father Karras he ends up saying, "Take me." He gets on. He tackles Regan, and it was kind of funny because he ends up like punching her. He's like punching her and he's
Take
slamming her. And he's
me.
like, "Yeah, take me." And so you can see the demon den jumps in him. You can see he starts to turn his eyes. One thing I didn't catch when I was watching the movie in theaters, and I only caught it when I was going back and getting stills for the slideshow here, was this glance of his mother's face in the window. I guess I just missed it. And when I was looking through it at first, I thought it was Father Marin, his face there. But I went back and I paused it, and I was like, "Oh, damn, it's his mother." And I didn't notice that. Did you guys catch that at all?
I've never noticed that before.
I thought it was the demon.
Yeah, either that, yeah, Father Marin or the demon. And it was real quick. It was like quicker than the other. Oh, and that reminds me. Yeah, sorry, Gio, you mentioned it earlier, and I thought I had the slide in here. I forgot to put it in here, of the demon here. But we'll get back to that in a second. But yeah, so then he, so you can see Father Karras is kind of battling that, like trying to stave off the demon. The demon jumps aside and he's kind of battling it, and he's like screaming no, and he goes back and forth between his appearances, between this and his regular look, and then he ends up just jumping out the window here, and killing himself in a similar way that Burke Dennings, the Chris's mom, the director, how he died earlier in the film, and it wasn't ever shown or said how that happened, but the mom, Chris, was saying that he was pushed out the window by Regan, I think she said, but that wasn't ever confirmed. It's just, because she was the only one in the room and he ends up being out the window, that she had pushed him. So he dies Father Karras dies in a similar fashion. Go ahead.
I think the whole setup of that is that the maid leaves her room and asks him to stay with her while she's gone.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
then
exactly.
when she leaves, like the window is left open and they found him at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah.
I think it was something like that.
With his head turned around.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that here.
Yeah.
Because there's some implications on that also. But
Yeah.
so yeah, Father Karras dies in a similar fashion, jumps out the window on his own though. I'm presuming because he's doing that himself to take his own life, to get rid of the demon, and he goes down the stairs and he kills himself the same way. So what were your guys' thoughts on this whole final scene, Gio? This whole like sequence?
Just the whole final sequence right here.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was definitely pretty interesting. Because it's like, well, like how are you gonna defeat this demon, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So he's just going to like sacrifice himself. Like that's the only way that he was able to really do at that point.
Yeah.
And I never noticed that the what you mentioned about the mom. Is that an actual like reflection of the window, or is that like that shot that we got, that subliminal, uh, like little scenes that we get of Pazuzu? Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, I think it was kind of like that because he's kind of yelling and he's trying to again fight like internally with the demon. He looks up and like they
Yeah.
just flash it really quick here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never noticed that. And then, like I said, I watched it in the theater too, and I just didn't notice that either. And so you just
Yeah.
brought this up too. So there's been a couple things that I never even noticed until like tonight. So
That's
that's
cool.
kind of cool that they add like these little things that you kind of could discover later on, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's a cool scene, and like I said, he just had to sacrifice himself. He had to like he kind of redeemed himself at the end as well with that.
Right.
Um, and and then the other thing is because you mentioned the director, one of the couple characters that died in the movie, the director and then the mom, and both of
Yeah.
them died like in real life shortly after filming their scenes too. So that
Oh,
was
okay.
another thing there that was kind of creepy as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Because they actually
Yeah.
did die in real life, not even that long ago after they filmed this.
Oh, so they were the two that died. I had read that some of the some people involved in the film died, but I didn't get a chance to confirm who those were. So it was the Burke Jennings, the director in this movie, and then the
Yeah,
mom,
and
Ellen
then the
Burstyn.
mom. Yeah, the
Oh
director.
wow,
I think the director died like a week or so after filming his scene. His
Wow.
the mom. I don't
oh
know how
wow,
long it was, but I think she did
yeah.
die before the movie came out.
Oh, okay. Wow, interesting. And just to clarify for those watching, we're not talking about the director of the movie. We're talking about the director
The
Right,
in
the
this
actor.
movie, the
character,
character. Yeah,
the
Burke
character.
Jennings is the character's name. Yeah, just to
Right,
clarify that.
not the actual, not
Not William Friedkin.
not
Yeah,
freaking right.
yeah. What about you, Alex? What were your thoughts overall on this whole final sequence?
I love that when I saw it the first time I wasn't expecting for this to
Yeah,
happen. Like I really wasn't expecting to have him sacrifice. Like it's not the kind of Hollywood ending that we're used to now, like this, like the hero going
yeah,
down like this. Like
yeah. That's true.
you know that if this movie was made today, like everybody would be hugging at the end,
Yeah,
and the ambulance at the end of the street,
yeah,
and everybody just like saying, "Oh, we're grateful that life is
yeah,
good." And it's a great ending. Well, it's not
yeah,
the ending yet, but it's just like it goes against your expectations, and that's pretty
yeah.
cool.
You can
And
go into the ending. Sorry. Yeah, this is sorry. This isn't the final, but this is like in this scene here. Yeah, I didn't put in the slides for the actual like
okay, okay,
end
okay,
part, so
okay,
you can talk about it if you want.
okay.
Feel free.
It's just like so yeah. This is completely against what you were thinking that was gonna happen. It's like I don't know if you guys thought that he was gonna die
Mm-mm.
or
No, I didn't.
sacrifice himself. Like
No.
I didn't
that.
necessarily think so. I just was wondering, like, well, how are they going to resolve this?
Yeah,
And then when it happens, okay, well, yeah, I guess that would
that
make
makes sense.
sense for something
Yeah,
like this. So,
yeah,
But yeah, like that, and then the ending.
mm,
I think it's pretty beautiful. I'm not religious myself. Like
yeah,
I don't like even when I was raised as a Catholic, I don't have any connection with that.
yeah,
But the way that like the Regan is thankful at the end when she sees the collar of the priest and
yeah,
she gives him a hug and a kiss, it's so nice. Like I think that it's a really nice way for her to be thankful of him and to recognize the church for what they did to her, and
yeah,
it's nice. I think I like that. It's a very nice ending, and I love that they end with a shot of to the they track the camera to the window
no, yeah.
and it's all boarded up, and that's kind of cool.
And then even I think it was the mom, Chris, who said that. Well, she doesn't remember what happened,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
she still doesn't go and like she must have remembered something because she goes and kisses, the
Yeah, she sees that. She sees
sees
the collar, and yeah,
yeah.
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like deep inside, she knows like this people saved me. So
yeah. There's something. Yeah, she has some sort of inkling. Yeah, about what happened. Yeah, that's interesting. I forgot about that part. I just know that there's the other father came in and he's kind of with him now, and that the lieutenant who was investigating the death of Burke Jennings, he's trying to befriend him now.
oh, by the way, that's one of my favorite characters of the movie, and we didn't talk about him, the detective. I love how
Yeah,
he's stalking
So,
movies all the time.
so buff.
Like
yeah.
I love that, and he's such a great actor. Like, have you guys seen 12 Angry Men?
I actually
A
haven't
while ago.
I haven't seen that actually.
Check it out. It's a beautiful movie,
Yeah,
and he's in there, and he has like for me, is the best character in that whole movie. And just seeing that, like I love when they talk about movies in movies.
yeah, yeah. So do I.
I love that, and I love how he was saying, "You look like a boxer. You look like so."
Yeah, yeah. And that was my fault. I didn't put him in just because it would have been obviously added to the discussion,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
making
yeah.
it longer. But I didn't see him as important of a character as these other three. I mean, he was, like I said, he was the lieutenant, investigating the death of Burke Jennings. So he was talking,
Mhm.
yeah, Father Karras, and he went to go talk to the mom, trying to find out what happened. Um, but yeah, he was in those scenes, and then he came in at the end again to talk to.
He's like the let's say comic relief in a way
Yeah,
because he is the most lighthearted character. Like He's
when he's asking for the autograph for like
yeah,
what,
that's so
Yeah.
cool.
and it was like, oh,
Yeah,
it's okay for me or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. He's like, I lied, it's for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. He's
it's
asking. Go ahead.
it's a very beautiful thing. Like it's he like he's a detective of this murder, and he loves his movies.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. I really like that part of it too. He was saying
Yeah,
how he's, has these tickets that he gets to the films and he wants to go see these, but I think it's his wife or somebody doesn't like going with them or
yeah.
some other person. Yeah. Yeah. That was just funny. But yeah, this was overall, yeah, there was, I not for what it was, just the themes and the ideas in this movie, and just the questioning of different things again, like faith versus science, and just how well it was written. There was just a lot of things that were really intriguing. Just I really enjoyed about it. It was not just putting the whole religious aspect aside, just like the demon and and faith, but just like the struggles and how complex the characters were and everything that was going on. Oh, can you guys see me? Okay, hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I got a notification on bandwidth issue, so just let me know if something cuts out.
All good. All good.
So real quick, then going back to Burke Jennings. So one of the things I was reading online about different theories, and one thing that was questioned was, you guys mentioned Burke Jennings was in Regan's room, and I think it was Gio, I can't remember if it was Gio or Alex, who brought up that the house, the helper, the maid, or whoever she was, Sharon, left him alone with Regan,
Yeah.
right? So, they didn't really show that specifically. That was kind of off the screen type of thing. So Chris, the mom, comes home, and she's talking to Sharon, and she's saying, or Sharon mentioned that, I shouldn't have left Regan here alone with Burke, and Chris was like, well, why did you do that? And Sharon was saying, I had to go get this medication, these pills, and I couldn't reach you or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, I had to go get these. And so Burke was there, and she left him, she left him alone with Regan to watch Regan basically while she went to get these pills. And so Chris was like, what the hell? Why'd you do that? You weren't thinking straight type of thing. And so that kind of brings on some implications people had. I was like, okay, well, obviously he fell out of the window, quote unquote, fell, or was pushed out of the Regan's window. Why was he in the first place? What was he doing up there? And then some people were thinking, Chris had that reaction, well, why'd you leave her alone with him? And then earlier when I mentioned the party that Chris was having at her house, he was a drunk. He was being a belligerent drunk basically, and mouthing off to people and just being rude to people. And so there was a lot of people were thinking that, again, I mentioned the sexual references and the associations with that. And some people think that the underlying theme of this movie was sexual abuse, right? And that Regan was just acting out. She was never really possessed. They just kind of portrayed her as that, but she was actually just acting out because of the abuse she was taking unknowingly to everyone else from Burke Jennings. And that she, maybe in self-defense or something, just kind of pushed him out because she was trying to protect herself or what, and she just was suffering all this trauma from all that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. There's like a lot of stuff to imply that, and you guys can go if you're interested in hearing more about that. There's people who do videos on that and talk about that aspect of it. But I don't know, have you guys heard about that? What were your guys' thoughts on that?
No, I've never heard.
Or Gio, go ahead.
I never heard anything about them before. I mean, it's interesting. It makes sense because it's like, well, why was he even up there in the first place? But,
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, because if he was going to just look after her, I don't know if he would necessarily go all the way upstairs. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, that never really crossed my mind. But it's an interesting theory for sure.
Yeah. What about you, Alex?
Man, Hollywood sex abuse.
It sucks.
Makes
What?
sense. Say Hollywood and sexual abuse
Oh, yeah.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and that kind of was going on to obviously the I don't think Blatty or Friedkin ever confirm that. It's just kind of a theory that people were throwing out there. But yeah, that was just one of those things that I was
It's interesting. Like I never thought about it, but it's interesting. Like you don't know, but
exactly.
like I don't think that was their intention, but
Yeah,
It's an
who knows?
interesting idea. It's a very interesting idea. Like,
Yeah, and some people were saying, but it wasn't really brought up because that was just that was taboo, even though like it was kind of going on. It wasn't. That's not something people really addressed
no,
back then, right? So it was just kind of it just went under the radar and just was never talked about. So yeah, I don't know. It was just interesting.
it's
Didn't the
interesting.
Seeing
whole
there.
Roman Polanski stuff happen around that time?
What was that?
Yeah,
Roman Polanski, the director who was accused of sexual abuse with
yeah, do with an underage.
well, underage
Oh, was
girl,
he? Oh,
and
okay.
he had to
Oh,
flee the
sorry.
country. I
Oh,
think it
wow.
happened during that time. I'm not totally sure, but
Oh,
I
okay.
think it was like in 72 or 73 or something like that. Yeah.
I see.
yeah.
It was after they murdered his wife, Sharon Tate, in 68.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
He,
wow. Okay.
The Manson family, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood
yeah,
that was based on. Yeah.
yeah,
Interesting. Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't hear about that. Wow.
yeah. Check it out.
That's
Like
unfortunate.
he had to fly the states and never come back.
Yeah, he's still over there.
Man.
Yeah, he's still.
Wow,
He's trying
really?
to come back. He's
He
trying to.
fled the country?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think he
Wow.
left with France, I believe, or something like that. A country that doesn't extradite
Oh, I see.
anyone from the
Wow.
yeah,
United States.
yeah.
Man.
He's French, so he went
Oh,
back
okay.
there. No, he's not
Yeah,
French.
that's
Sorry,
interesting.
no, he's from Poland. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
is. Yeah,
Yes, he's from Poland and he's living in France, I think.
I believe he is.
You could have told me
Yeah.
otherwise, and I would have believed you. I have no idea. Sure. Right.
No, we need to tell the truth. We need to tell.
Yeah.
So,
We
yeah,
don't need
I
to be
wouldn't have.
one of those
I wouldn't
channels.
have called you out. Yeah, I wouldn't have called you out. I'm like, okay, sure, yeah. I'll
that's what
probably
I'm
look it
wondering.
up later.
Maybe that happened during that time frame. Maybe they're kind of like sneaking that in there. Maybe.
It's interesting. Like even as a little hint, like just that the guy tried to abuse Regan on that moment because he
Yeah,
was drunk or whatever. Like
right.
just that little tiny thing. I think it's interesting. Or even if the demon wanted to pay back to the guy because of what he did, or like in horror movies that the bad guy
Yeah,
always ends
Yeah,
up paying.
right. Yep. Yeah, and then just in general, right? You could kind of see it. Again, this was based on the book that William Blatty wrote, and William Blatty based that off of the of that exorcism. Again, going back to what we talked about initially, and those were all just accounts, right? People just anecdotal, and then I think a lot of people are leaning more towards it was just him acting out. There was like something going on with him. Again, there's no confirmation either way, but still, and it's kind of you can kind of take this movie and see it in that light, right? In that same aspect, like as just that what I mentioned earlier, like maybe it was just this whole time it was her acting out, and the how we see her is just you know a depiction of how she appeared because of what she was doing and the things she was doing. Some people would see her as some sort of demon because of the things she was doing. So I don't know. It kind of goes back to again interpretation, right? After you see this
Yeah.
whole movie, how do you interpret it? Do you interpret
yeah.
it this way, or do you interpret was it real, or was she actually possessed? Right. So it kind of goes back to that. Any other final thoughts on this, Gio, on the movie overall? Anything that we didn't talk about or mention?
I really like the movie. I mean, it's my favorite horror film, of all time.
Mm.
I think it's just a great movie overall. You know, just in general. Um, and I do like Linda Blair's performance, Ellen Burstyn's performance, mainly in this movie, and I actually got a chance to meet Linda Blair in September.
Oh, nice.
So at one of the conventions near
Yeah.
me. So she was kind of like a last minute addition. So I was like, I'm gonna try to meet Linda Blair, and I met her, and I mean, I told her I was like, you should have won the Oscar that year, and she was kind of like, oh, just stop, or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, stop it.
I was like,
Get
oh,
out
just
of
stop
here.
it. I was like, okay. Um, so yeah, it was cool meeting her, and because I collect, like some Funkos that are autographed by
Oh, nice. Okay.
celebrities,
Yeah.
and so I got a Reagan one of,
Awesome.
and then she signed it, and I actually have it with me right now. Look,
Oh, let's hear me blow you up here. Enhance.
so
Oh,
Mm.
sweet
and it's in
dreams.
green, just perfect, right? In green.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
So
she
That's
was happy to have that.
awesome.
so that was cool meeting her. So, and I
Yeah.
just met her like 2 weeks before I went and saw The Exorcist again in early October.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's pretty cool, man. Congrats. That's
That is
awesome.
cool. Yeah. I
Yes, it's
if you
cool.
have pictures, yeah, I'd like to see those.
Oh
If
yeah,
you're,
it's in my Instagram.
is
Oh,
it? Oh, okay,
I'm
man.
gonna look that up.
Yeah, I'll check that out the stream. Um, but yeah, does that vomit on that Funko? Does that glow in the dark by chance?
I don't know. It doesn't.
Oh, okay. I know they have their glow
No,
in the dark stuff. Um,
that would be
what
cool.
about? Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. It is really cool. That's awesome. A good memory to have with you.
Yeah.
What about you, Alex? Any final thoughts or anything that we didn't talk about or you want to add to the movie overall?
I think if everyone needs to watch this movie. Everyone, like even if you are not a horror fan, you need to watch it. Like if you like movies, you need to watch it. This is a
I
masterpiece.
agree. I agree.
It is a masterpiece, and I think that we need more movies like this one.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's one of those. I will again. It is a slow build, so we mentioned this in the beginning. So just keep that in mind. You know, it's like things kind of happen here and there throughout the film, but it builds up, right? I think it's intentional and it kind of builds up to get you familiar with all the characters. But yeah, so but yeah, I agree. Like I said, I have more appreciation of this film and just everything that went into it. You know, like, there's some things that were unfortunate that happened during the filming, other creative things. So yeah, I had no idea, but after doing all this research and prepping for this stream, I have a better appreciation for it. I will say though, you know, again, it's one of those movies where we see a while ago and we're like, man, it was scary. Um, One of the scariest movies. But then you go back and you watch again as an adult, and it was still creepy, it's still scary, but it wasn't as what you remember when you're, at least for me, anyways.
I still get super scared.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. I know you do. I'm sure others as well. No, yeah, no. And that's definitely understandable because it is creepy. But I think Gio, you were touching on this. I think it kind of goes back to, you know, we've seen a lot of movies from that point to now, right? And we've become desensitized to a lot of it. And for me, personally, I'm kind of the same way. I went to go see the Terrifier in theaters, and that was a lot more graphic, a lot more gory. So like, there's different levels of horror and different subgenres of that. And I think the generation now is probably similar, right? They've seen a lot of things, and they're little more desensitized. But imagine seeing this for the first time back in, you know, when it came out in '73, and we touched on this earlier. It was just how like shocking this would have been and crazy, and just yeah, like Alex mentioned, terrifying when he first saw it. You know, I said people were there were accounts of people fainting, throwing
Yeah.
up, vomiting, and yeah, it's hard to think now, but try to put yourself in that situation, watching this for the first time back then, and how crazy it would have been. It's just yeah, I can only imagine, but yeah, it's hard for me now, just again because of all the other horror movies we have now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
So,
is as a movie, as an art form. I agree. It's really good. It's really well done. So if you can get past, you know, the some of the demon aspects, and then you cannot let the religious aspect interfere with it. It's a good movie for what it is. You know, putting that aside, it's a good movie.
yeah. People need to watch it, and people
Yeah.
need to watch older movies. Really.
Period.
Yes.
You know, period. Show appreciation.
Yes,
One more.
because
Yeah, go ahead.
yes. No, I just want people to watch older movies. I think
Yeah,
it's
I need to watch more myself for sure.
do it, do it, do it. You'll be happier.
Do
Yeah,
it.
do it.
One more thing, sorry, before we go to the outros here. I forgot to add. So when I went to go see I think you probably saw this too, Gio. In addition, so for the 50th anniversary, when they re-released it in theaters, they had the special opening. Well, at the end, they had a featurette where it was about the sets and the locations, filming on location type of thing. And I don't know if they're going to include this in future Blu-rays or DVDs or whatever, but they talked about how they had to make an extension to the McNeil house here. So realistically, Regan's window was about like 40 feet from the stairs. So if someone were to actually fall out of there, they wouldn't have went down the stairs just because it was too far. So what they did was they built an extension to the house so they can film that and bring her room closer. And also because her actual room was small, and so filming in there wouldn't have worked well with the lighting and having all the equipment in there, and just it just wasn't going to work out for practically for filming. So they built this whole set and attached it to the side of the house, which I had no idea was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Did you
think they
say?
included the special because they just released the 4K of
Mm,
the Exorcist. I think in September, August, September, somewhere on there. And
yeah.
I think that featurette that you mentioned, I think that's part of the 4K
Oh, okay.
special
Gotcha.
edition.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Did you hear about that, Alex? About that extension?
I didn't, but I want to buy the Blu-ray.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of torn about buying this movie. I'm kind of like, it's one of those movies where I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. Again, top 5 horror movies, but I don't know if I want to buy it. It's kind of similar to like the Joker, Joker Walk with Joaquin
Oh,
Phoenix, or Hereditary, where it was the experience once through was good, but I don't know if I would own it to watch it multiple times type of thing. Maybe like here and there, if I feel like watching it a couple years from now, I'll just probably rent it or something. But it's not a movie in my opinion, that'd be worth buying to watch multiple times. I don't know. Do you guys feel
Yeah.
differently?
I I really like buying classic films like this. Like I know this movie is not gonna get lost in time because the studio loves it,
Yeah,
but I think this kind of older movies are the ones that I'd rather buy than newer ones because
I see.
like this was shot on film. The
Yeah,
way 4K movies when they restore well when they remaster 35 millimeter movies, like they look better when they're shot in film. And I don't know, I have a bigger appreciation for this kind of stuff to have it in my like in
I
physical
see.
media than
Yeah,
buying newer movies that I know that are I don't know, like are easier to get and
I see.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Yeah,
And I don't think like in 20 years, I don't know how much appreciation the newer generations are gonna have for these movies. So we don't know if they're gonna restore it again or
yeah, that's a good point.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
more about that, yeah.
yeah. What about you, Gio? Do you own this, or is this something you would probably buy?
I do have it. Either
Oh, okay.
DVD or Blu-ray or both. One of those.
Yeah.
I didn't buy the 4K because I did stop buying the 4K Blu-rays.
Oh, okay.
I think when the pandemic hit, they kind
Yeah,
of stopped producing, uh, a lot of 4K Blu-rays. At least not to the level that they used to. So I kind of
yeah,
stopped. Especially since they started like just adding movies up into streaming services so fast now.
yeah.
So it kind of deterred me from getting some more of those. But I know I have at least the DVD. I think probably the Blu-ray of The Exorcist. So I do have it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I think I probably may end up buying it just for the reason that Alex, you were talking about, just that preservation and just to have it on hand. I don't know.
Because I know it's on Max.
Yeah,
HBO.
But it's
yeah,
cool to have it in 4K, the Blu-ray,
yeah.
4K Blu-ray is pretty
Just
cool.
because, yeah, again, the sound and the remaster alone,
Yeah,
like just the video and
Yeah.
the
like
sound is just really clean.
it's worth it. Like
It adds
the
it to it.
Indiana Jones in 4K, like they look beautiful. Like the Godfather in 4K looks beautiful. Blade Runner, like all those movies, I think it's really worth having. I'm not buying a ton of movies anymore, but those kind of movies is like, you know what, I have to buy them. I have to buy
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
certain movies that you want to get the
them.
latest version
yeah,
of.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah, like Back to the Future and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
those
Like you need
classics,
them.
of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. All right, I'm sold.
yeah, buy it.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's $28. Do it.
Yeah, you guys enabled me. Gentlemen, we did it. I know this was a long one. I honestly had no idea we were going to go this long. I just like, but that's what happens, right? When you,
You
that's what I
have
aim for.
fun.
You just natural, organic discussion, and we just go about it. So, but I appreciate you and those of you watching for staying with us for this long. I had fun. I enjoyed talking about this and learning
Same.
about all this. And
Yeah.
it was good times. So, Alex, I'll go ahead and start with you. What do you got coming up? My
Oh,
hands
I'm
face here.
I'm not really uploading a lot of stuff on my YouTube channel. I'm doing
Yeah.
most things on my Instagram. I'm doing like small lessons in Spanish, teaching people about filmmaking stuff now. Like I'm gonna stop doing stuff on collecting. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So if you guys want to go and check out my Instagram, I might start uploading stuff to my YouTube later. But right now
Yeah.
I'm doing like small videos there, small reviews.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alex, go check out his content. Again, I'll put after the stream. It should be. I'll have the links to his IG and his YouTube in there. Go check it out. See if it's something you like. Show him some love for the work he's doing. In one thing I do like is that he's doing his content in Spanish for those of you that are of Spanish descent or speak Spanish. So I think that's really cool that you do that, Alex.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I know that there are a lot of content in English, and I wanted
Yeah.
to give it to
Yep.
my Spanish-speaking friends too.
Exactly. Yeah, and it also helps with my Spanish. I speak some, but I'm not as fluent as you are, obviously. So watching those
Well,
definitely help me. Yeah. Yeah. All right, but yeah, thank you again for your time. I know it was a long one. Sorry if
that
you
was so much fun, man. Always
took
happy
your
to
time.
be here with you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Gio, what do you got coming up on your channel here?
Well, this Friday, because I just crossed the 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. 2 weeks
Congratulations.
ago. Yeah, thank you. So I've decided to do like a live, like a giveaway stream because on my channel I always do like little giveaways, like little Funko giveaways to
Yeah.
subscribers and stuff like that. Um, so for the 1K subs live uh, giveaway stream, which I'm doing this Friday,
Yeah.
7 p.m. Pacific time. I'm gonna do my regular show, the Met Report, show about movies, entertainment, and television news. And what I'm
Mhm.
doing on Friday, I'm gonna do my most anticipated movies of 2024, which is something that I do like every year. I just look at the calendar for the following year, and then I just put like a little ranking of my top 10 most anticipated movies.
Mhm.
So I'm doing it on Friday during that show, and then I'll also be doing a bunch of giveaways, Funkos, and even one of them is for whoever's a six scale community collector. You have an
Mhm.
option to get a sideshow gift card of like $30 or so. If you rather have that instead of the big five Funko sets of the Star Wars
Yeah.
2022 exclusive set. So I got like those details in there on my channel and on my Instagram. Because normally I do a show, the Met Report, every. Lately I've been doing it on Saturdays, like around 12:30 ish Pacific
Okay.
time around there. So that's what I'm doing. But and then Alex, I did watch your Ahsoka series earlier today
Oh,
while I was at work. I just played it in the background. It was like a 2 hour stream. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, so I just played it in the background. It's very interesting. I mean, I'm fluent in Spanish. Not as good as you, but I am fluent in Spanish. I couldn't do a live stream in Spanish. Like I might be able
one,
to
one
do
day
like
we'll do it. One day we'll do it. You'll see.
yeah, a little bit like I mean I grew up learning Spanish first, so English is
Mhm.
my second language. But
Oh,
now
okay.
it's kind of like me
Yeah.
actually go and do like a full on analysis of something in Spanish. I know I
Yeah.
would fail. But
One
yeah,
day, my friend. One day. One day. One day. That will be. We'll hang out, and I'll get you to get super fluent in your Spanish
oh
again.
yeah, yep,
But thanks
Well,
for
thank you.
watching it.
yes, of course.
Yeah, thanks again, Gio, for coming on again. First time on any of my streams, both between
Oh yeah,
YouTube channels. So appreciate
it
you
was,
coming on.
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, definitely had fun. But for those of you who want to see more of Gio's content and are interested in that giveaway, go and check out his channel. I have it here, but I'll have the link in the description here. It should be already in there, so go check that out. But yeah, and as far as me, I'm unfortunately I don't have a reoccurring stream. I kind of do these when I have time. This is a hobby of mine. So again, I enjoy movies and TV shows just like these guys, and video games, in addition to collecting. But that's that's a lower priority than what I have going on at home, right? I have, like I mentioned, I have kids and family and house stuff. So unfortunately, I'm not able to have like a steady schedule of streams. So I just do these when I can. So the best way is just to subscribe to my channel. I'm not just saying that just because, but if you want to, be informed and get those notifications, I would say just subscribe. But also, I give reminders and heads up on my social media too. I'll post up on my stories or on my posts. Hey, this stream is coming up. So even if you don't want to subscribe, no worries. There's always those notifications I get on my Facebook account and my IG. Again, those links are in the description below if you are interested in checking out my other content as well. That would, any and all support is appreciated, but most of all, thank you for your time. I know time is a valuable resource, and so any time that you give me and us and my other previous guests, we're all appreciative of that. So thank you for staying for this long. For those of you who went back and watched any part of this, I really appreciate the time that you've given us. That means a lot. So thank you. Hopefully you were entertained by what we had. But yes, with that, I hope you enjoyed the stream. Thank you so much. Thank you to my guests again for coming on, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Thank you.
Happy holidays also.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.